Chapter 303. U. Z. Chi 7 SA YP? And OT? 1 PD? Plus? Outside the forest, Lu Ming and Okikin were also there. These three fellows each had a maid accompanying them. Their faces were rosy, and they looked a little drunk. There were many people coming and going at Xuanfang Courtyard. Li Daochong never thought that he would meet these three fellows here. Their auras were also quite different from when Li Daochong left Blue Bay Star. Orson's and Okikin's auras were close to the Foundation establishment stage. They had already reached the peak of the Qi gathering stage. Although they had yet to reach the Foundation establishment stage, these two bulls were body cultivators who had reached the peak of the Qi gathering stage at a young age. Among martial artists, they had already surpassed the Grandmaster stage and reached the Saint stage. Their actual combat strength was above that of an ordinary early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Lu Ming's aura was also at the late stage of the Qi gathering stage. However, his spirit Qi was thick and solid, not much weaker than Li Daochong's. Lu Ming had always been an enigma. Li Daochong couldn't see through him clearly. He always felt that this guy had some unknown secret. It was not strange for them to appear on Kangwu Planet now. The three of them had all obtained placings for the joint examination of 100 schools. However, Li Daochong never thought that these three fellows would actually go to a brothel to have fun together. How could Xiao Yanzhao take it lying down after being called an idiot? Without another word, he raised his hand and punched Orson. Seeing this, Li Daochong's lips curled into a slight smile. Close combat. Who was Orson afraid of? Even Li Daochong was not willing to fight Orson with his fists. Unless this fellow did not want to fight, he would not rest until he was really angry. Although Xiao Yanzhao was at the early stage of the Foundation establishment stage, he was a cultivator. His physique could not be compared to a body cultivator's. There was probably no other cultivator who could be reborn like Li Daochong at the early stage of the Foundation establishment stage. Bang! The two fists collided and there was a muffled sound. Xiao Yanzhao hurriedly retreated 3 steps, while Orson remained motionless in his seat. It was obvious who was superior. "Young Master Xiao, are you all right?" one of Xiao Yanzhao's followers hurriedly asked. Xiao Yanzhao looked at his own fist and smiled sinisterly. "Body refiner, interesting. No wonder you are so arrogant. Turns out that you have something to rely on. Unfortunately, you met me, young Master Xiao. If it were someone else, perhaps you would have succeeded in your counterattack today." After saying that, Xiao Yanzhao raised his hand, and a white smoke rose, mixed with a trace of fire, and struck out with his palm. Orson's eyes narrowed, and his casual expression instantly disappeared. "Careful!" Aokichuan said anxiously. Orson quickly got up and punched out with all his might. Pung! It was still a muffled sound, but this time the sound was more like the sound of an explosion than a collision. Orson hastily retreated a dozen steps, the blood and qi in his body churning. His fist felt extremely uncomfortable, as if it was burning. How could Xiao Yanzhao let go of his successful attack? This brat had just made him lose face in front of so many people. If he didn't teach him a lesson, how could he convince the crowd? Xiao Yanzhao's figure flashed and appeared in front of Orson. It was unknown when a short sword had appeared in his hand, but it was aimed at Orson's shoulder blade. He wanted to cripple Orson. How could Aokichuan watch as his younger brother was crippled? He took a step forward and kicked Xiao Yanzhao. Pa! A hand suddenly stretched out and grabbed Aokichuan's ankle. A strong force was transmitted, and even though Aokichuan was known for his strength, he was easily restrained. The one who made the move was a young man behind Yi Jingyan. This person looked gentle and quiet, and he wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses on his nose. Just by looking at his appearance, he seemed to be weak, but when he made the move, one would know that he was actually a great expert. "Qi Huan, be gentle. Don't crush his bones," Yi Jingyan casually reminded, not putting Orson and the other two in her eyes at all. The young man called Chi Huan nodded and looked indifferently at Aokachuan. Outsider, behave yourself. The two of them are fighting one-on-one. That's their business. No one is allowed to interfere. Seeing that Xiao Yinzhao's dagger was about to stab Orson, the latter dodged to the side. Xiao Yinzhao's hand trembled and suddenly changed direction, hitting Orson's chest with the handle of his dagger. A hidden force instantly invaded Orson's body. He groaned and clutched his chest, a trace of blood flowing out from his mouth. Aokachuan and Lu Ming wanted to help, but they were unable to do so. Chi Huan glared at them. After hitting Orson, Xiao Yinzhao still had no intention of stopping. With an ominous glint in his eyes, he gloomily said, "Country bumpkin, this is Kangwu planet, not your countryside. You have to pay the price for saying the wrong thing." After saying that, white smoke appeared in Xiao Yinzhao's hand again, and he heavily slapped down at the back of Orson's head. Aokachuan and Lu Ming's expressions changed greatly. They could see that the other party was going to be ruthless. They could no longer sit still and attacked at the same time. Whoosh! A streak of silver light flashed past. Lu Ming and Aokachuan were unable to react in time and instinctively dodged. A silver sword came flying through the air. This sword carried an intense killing intent, and there was no intention of holding back at all. If Lu Ming and Aokachuan did not dodge, this sword would not hesitate to slash down and cripple them. Although there was a conflict on the second floor, Xuanfang Courtyard did not move at all. In fact, from the moment Xiao Yinzhao spoke, the guards of Xuanfang Courtyard had already noticed. However, when they saw Xiao Yinzhao and Yi Jingyan, they did not dare to act rashly. The brothel keeper even gave them a look, indicating for them to wait and see. Seeing that Orson's vital point was about to be hit by Xiao Yinzhao's attack, Xiao Yinzhao ruthlessly slapped the back of Orson's head with his palm covered in white smoke. If this attack landed, even if Orson did not die, he would lose half his life. He could forget about participating in the joint examination of 100 schools in 3 days. Just as Lu Ming and Aokachuan were shocked, a shadow suddenly flashed over at an extremely fast speed. Xiao Yinzhao felt a chill run down his spine, and a sense of crisis suddenly rose. Seeing that his palm was about to hit the back of Orson's head, he suddenly turned around and counterattacked. Bang! The two palms collided. Xiao Yinzhao hurriedly retreated more than 10 steps. His palm felt as if it had been pricked by a needle, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Xiao Yinzhao was shocked and incomparably furious. Someone actually dared to sneak attack him, and with such a heavy hand. Yi Jingyan's expression froze. Just now, when the shadow had flashed over, she had not been able to completely capture the other party's movements, and a hint of fear appeared in her eyes. Dao Chong! Lu Ming cried out in surprise. Li Daochong smiled slightly at Lu Ming. Just as he was about to speak, a golden light flashed over. Xiao Yinzhao had angrily shot out a hidden weapon. Yi Jingyan's expression changed greatly. No! The hidden weapon Xiao Yinzhao had shot out was the Xiao family's unique golden cicada wing dart. It was a hidden weapon shaped like a cicada's wing, extremely sharp, and covered in a layer of extremely toxic venom. Just a few micrograms of it was enough to kill a 10th-level spirit beast within a few minutes. If a person came into contact with it, they would die within half a minute, their internal organs turning into thick liquid. Yi Jingyan also did not expect that Xiao Yinzhao would kill someone in front of so many people. Even if the other party did not have any background, it would be very troublesome after this, not to mention that the joint examination was imminent. Yi Jingyan was wise to protect herself, so she turned around and went downstairs. Almost at the same time, Li Daochong flung his hand, and a spirit sun lightning ball instantly condensed and shot out. Stop! The golden light and the lightning ball collided in the air. The lightning ball disappeared, and the golden light flew backwards. Xiao Yinzhao did not have time to react at all. The golden light brushed past his arm and shot into a wooden pillar behind him. Xiao Yinzhao groaned and covered his arm. He then quickly took out a pill and swallowed it, glaring at Li Daochong viciously. "Brat you!" Xiao Yanzhao was just about to say something ruthless, but before he could finish, his vision turned black and he fell down. Although he had taken the antidote, the poison still spread. The few people who had followed Xiao Yanzhao saw that something was wrong and hurriedly got up to lift Xiao Yanzhao up. One of them glared at Li Daochong and said, "Brat, I think you're tired of living. Do you know who he is? If you have the guts, don't run. Wait for me." Even Xiao Yanzhao was not a match for this unfamiliar young man. The few of them knew that they were not a match for him, so they hurriedly carried Xiao Yanzhao downstairs. After the few of them carried Xiao Yanzhao downstairs, one of them grabbed the brothel keeper and said coldly, "Brothel keeper, look after those guys upstairs. Don't let any of them go. In a while, the Xiao family will come to settle the score with them. If even one of them escapes, your Xuanfang brothel will no longer be open. Also, tell all the unrelated people to leave." After saying that, the few of them quickly left with the unconscious Xiao Yanzhao. At the same time, many guests felt that something was wrong. They got up, paid, and left as if they had a premonition. Not long after, 2/3 of the guests left in a hurry. The remaining 1/3 of the guests looked normal. Clearly, they had some background and did not care about what was about to happen. "Li Daochong, it's really you." Lu Ming sized up Li Daochong and said in disbelief. "Nonsense, of course it's me." Li Daochong replied snappily. "Daochong, I haven't seen you for a few months and you've left me far behind again." Orson scratched his head and said embarrassedly. Chapter 304. Qiao Shima sat in her seat, her delicate body trembling slightly. Xiao Yanzhao was the culprit who had sent the Qiao family to their doom 2 months ago. Qiao Shima was forcibly brought to Kangwu planet by Xiao Yanzhao. Qiao Shima's worthless father sold the Qiao family in order to consume the best immortal grass. In the end, he overdosed and died. Qiao Shima's grandmother was angered to death, and the entire Qiao family dispersed. The family business was taken over by the Xiao family. The sisters sought help from the security bureau, but they were caught red-handed. Their dead father had borrowed money from the loan sharks in their name. According to the Federation's cultivation law, if they couldn't repay the debt, they could only sell themselves and become the Xiao family's slaves. That wasn't all. Xiao Yanzhao had taken a fancy to the sisters and wanted to do something bad to them. Qiao Sinuo had no choice but to flee with Qiao Shima. However, the Xiao family was a second-class cultivation planet's large family. Any of their servants were 10 times stronger than Qiao Sinuo. Qiao Sinuo was seriously injured in the fight and desperately brought Qiao Shima to Kangwu planet, hoping to find help on a high-class cultivation planet. However, Qiao Sinuo fainted when they arrived. Qiao Shima was at her wits' end. She pawned all her valuables and rented a small courtyard in the slums. She bought a spirit liquid vat and spirit liquid and soaked Qiao Sinuo in it. After doing all this, Qiao Shima only had a little more than 100 Federation coins left. She was at the end of her rope. Qiao Shima contacted a friend on Kangwu planet and asked for help. That friend was very enthusiastic and gave Qiao Shima more than 100,000 Federation coins without hesitation. However, the friend needed to write an IOU. Qiao Shima didn't think much of it. Borrowing money to write an IOU was a matter of course. Unexpectedly, that friend tampered with the IOU. It was actually a contract to sell herself, which was legal in the Federation. A few days later, Qiao Shima was found in Xuanfang courtyard and forcibly brought there. It had been 3 days since then. Xiao Yanzhao had many spies on Kangwu planet. He always knew about Qiao Shima's movements. Yesterday, he came to visit her on her first day. Naturally, Qiao Shima didn't want to accompany Xiao Yanzhao no matter what. Falling into a quagmire, Qiao Shima even had the heart to die. If it wasn't for Qiao Sinuo, she would have killed herself long ago. Li Tianyang was the one who had given Qiao Shima her halo. After Li Tianyang's downfall, her glory was gone. Relying on the Qiao family's past glory and connections in Blue Bay Star, they were barely surviving. She was determined to bring the Qiao family into the mainstream. Unfortunately, no matter how enlightened the Great Cultivation Era was, it was still a world of cultivators. Without strength, it was difficult to move an inch. How could a weak woman like Qiao Shimo reverse the situation? Unless she was willing to betray herself and rely on others. However, Qiao Shimo was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. She wasn't willing to be manipulated by others, let alone become someone else's plaything. Yet, she was also burdened with the fate of her family's survival. This was destined to make her path extremely difficult. Coupled with that bastard of a father, she was destined to fall to her current state. These days, Qiao Shimo recalled everything that had happened in the past. She suddenly realized that if she hadn't used Li Daochong back then and had truly married him, things would have been different today. Although Li Daochong had disappeared after being ostracized 2 months ago, Qiao Shimo had heard some rumors later. Not only was he fine, but his strength had also advanced by leaps and bounds, and he was doing well on Red Sun Planet. Qiao Shimo had heard from the siblings that Li Daochong had even obtained the qualification to directly pass the final test of the joint examination of 100 schools. Qiao Shimo had asked the siblings for help many times these days, and they had helped her a lot. However, the 4 big families on Red Sun Planet had encountered a financial crisis. The Yin family had been hit hard, and the Ouyang family had been even worse. They were basically on the verge of disbanding. At this juncture, how could Qiao Shimo still have the face to ask them for help? Besides, no matter how powerful the Yin family was, it was only on the 4th-class cultivation planet Red Sun Planet. Compared to the Shao family, it was like a small wizard meeting a grand wizard. They weren't on the same level at all. At first, Qiao Shimo had thought that the Shao family was an aristocratic family on Red Sun Planet. It was only later that she realized that the Shao family only had business on Red Sun Planet. Her father had only contacted the Shao family's office on Red Sun Planet. The real Shao family was on Kangwu Planet. To the Qiao family they were a true primordial beast. Qiao Shimo had also thought of asking Li Daochong for help, but she had Li Daochong's long-distance messenger account. After hesitating over and over again, she was too ashamed to contact him and finally gave up. She had never imagined that she would meet Li Daochong at Xuanfang Courtyard and even become his servant girl. When Li Daochong picked her, besides feeling ashamed, Qiao Shimo was even more delighted. She saw the hope of regaining her freedom. Qiao Shimo had never thought of asking Li Daochong to help her deal with the Shao family. In her opinion, no matter how powerful Li Daochong was, he still wasn't strong enough to contend with the Shao family. The Shao family was a primordial beast, and she, Qiao Shimo, was just an ant. At best, Li Daochong was just a hamster. Qiao Shimo didn't want Li Daochong to help her deal with the Shao family. She couldn't. When she first saw Li Daochong, she only wanted to beg Li Daochong to redeem her from Xuanfang Courtyard. According to the siblings, a few million Federation coins wasn't a huge sum for the current Li Daochong. Qiao Shimo no longer had the goddess image of the past. She had already thought it through. If Li Daochong was willing to help, she would repay him with her body. Giving herself to Li Daochong was better than being defiled by others. But before Qiao Shimo could think of how to tell Li Daochong, the latter actually beat up Xiao Yanzhao. It seemed that the beating wasn't light either. Xiao Yanzhao had fainted. This kid was the young master of the Shao family and was very favored. Touching Xiao Yanzhao was a declaration of war against the Shao family. Li Daochong, why are you still as brainless as before? Qiao Shimo looked at Li Daochong, who hadn't realized that he had gotten himself into big trouble. At this moment, not only did he not have the slightest sense of crisis, he also didn't have any intention of escaping. Instead, he was casually chatting with Orson and the other 2. This guy was still so stupid. Xiao Shima looked at Li Daocheng's back with hidden bitterness and sighed deeply. Speaking of which, Ding Fugui hurriedly ran over and pulled Li Daocheng, wanting to slip away. Brother Li, that fellow just now was the Shao family's eldest young master, Shao Yanzhao. The Shao family's people are not to be trifled with, we should quickly run. But before he could finish speaking, several guards from Xuanfang courtyard had already appeared and blocked both sides of the passageway leading downstairs. There were a total of 4 guards, all of whom were Foundation establishment cultivators. Hee, you want to leave after beating someone up? Wait until the Shao family comes. One of the guards laughed sinisterly. Orson, Ao Kachuan, and Lu Ming looked at each other in dismay. They all saw a trace of unease in each other's eyes. On the Blue Bay Star, these 3 were people who could do whatever they wanted. Who would dare to provoke them? They were used to being high and mighty. How could they stand it when someone suddenly shouted at them? They were immediately tipsy, so it was normal for Orson to call them stupid. But when the 3 of them calmed down, they realized that this wasn't the Blue Bay Star, but the Kangwu Star. Orson realized that things might not end well. He looked at Li Daocheng apologetically and said, Daocheng, I'm sorry for dragging you into this. Li Daocheng looked at Orson with some surprise. This wasn't his style. He calmly replied, I haven't seen you for a few months. How did you become a woman? When Orson heard this, the veins on his forehead bulged. He cursed, Motherf *cur, forget it. Li Daocheng nodded. Yes, this is the barbarian bull that I know. Lu Ming said, looks like that kid's background isn't simple. Should we force our way out? When the other party calls for help, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave. Ao Kachuan licked his lips and said excitedly, a Foundation establishment cultivator. I haven't experienced it yet. It's a good opportunity to test the results of the special training. Orson clenched his fist. His eyes lit up as he said excitedly, yes, we're going to leave. We'll beat up whoever stops us. He had already forgotten about being beaten up by Shao Yanzhao. Seeing that the 3 of them were no longer depressed, Li Daocheng smiled faintly. Being hot-blooded was the nature of a young man. Otherwise, what was the point of cultivating and being a cultivator? If they were scared by such a small thing, how could they fight the dark ghost? It would be strange if they weren't scared to death. Li Daocheng naturally saw that the kid being carried out had an unusual background. He turned to Ding Fugui and whispered, Fatty, hurry up and send a message to Qin Changfa asking for help. When Ding Fugui saw that Shao Yanzhao had been beaten unconscious by Li Daocheng, he was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. Who was Shao Yanzhao? How could the little fatty not know? Ding Fugui had personally experienced Shao Yanzhao's methods. The little fatty had a friend whose family was quite powerful. He had offended Shao Yanzhao at a gathering. A few days later, the little fatty's friend was found dead in a foreign land. His death was extremely tragic. His hands and feet were crushed into meat paste. His eyes were gouged out and his scalp was pulled open. He no longer looked human. After the coroner's autopsy, he diagnosed that this person was already in this state more than 10 hours before his death. In other words, this person was tortured to this state when he was still alive. He had to suffer for half a day before he breathed his last. Shao Yanzhao had a nickname in private. Evil Ghost. On Kangwu Planet, even if you met a ghost, don't meet Shao Yanzhao. Ding Fugui was really scared out of his wit. Now that he heard Li Daocheng's words, his short-circuited brain recovered a little. Only then did Ding Fugui remember that he was specially sent by Qin Zhan to receive Li Daocheng. In other words, Li Daocheng was Qin Zhan's guest. He was also a talent that Qin Zhan wanted to recruit. The Shao family was indeed powerful, but Qin Zhan was not someone to be trifled with either. He was a warlord at the northern border and commanded a vanguard of 300,000 cultivators. Ding Fugui's beady eyes suddenly lit up. He seemed to have thought of something and immediately said, Brother Li, Qin Zhan is very busy and it's not convenient to contact him. However, you can contact someone else. She's currently on Kangwu planet. Before I came to pick you up, she told me that she wanted to see you again. Who? Li Daochong could not remember who else he knew on Kangwu planet. Lord Yu Yen. As soon as Ding Fugue reported his name, the image of a graceful and flirtatious woman immediately appeared in Li Daochong's mind. This woman did not have the demeanor of a cultivator at all. Instead, she looked more like a prostitute. She did not have the demeanor of a soldier at all. Is she very powerful? Li Daochong did not know Yu Yen very well and could not help but ask. Of course. The leader of the Northwest Army's vanguard is Qin Zhan. Qin Zhan. Lord Yu is the vice leader. She's second in command. Ding Fugue said with certainty. All right then. Let's call her that. Li Daochong nodded. Just as he finished speaking, a roar came from outside. Which son of AB** TCH injured my grandson? Get the F** CK out here for me. The voice was deafening and pierced through the eardrums. Their minds were buzzing and their psychic waves were vibrating. Sun Fong Courtyard was in a mess. Many guests were covering their ears and vomiting non-stop. A powerful pressure came over and enveloped Sun Fong Courtyard. Chapter 305. When the brothel keeper saw the middle-aged man descending from the sky, her face turned pale. This person was the Shao family's grand elder, Shao Chongquan. He was in the middle stage of the Jin Dan realm, and Shao Yanzhao was his grandson. The brothel keeper was quick-witted and immediately signaled the guards to attack. The 4 guards rushed towards Orson and the other 3 without hesitation. They attacked with all their might and did not hold back. The 4 of them wanted to claim credit before the Shao family's grand elder, Shao Chongquan. Perhaps Shao Chongquan would be happy and bring the 4 of them into the Shao family as guests. Their treatment would definitely be much better than being guards in the Xuanfang courtyard. The 4 guards were all in the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm and had decent strength. The 4 of them displayed their abilities and attacked with all their might. They were determined to end the battle quickly and take down the 4 reckless brats. However, when they really fought, the 4 guards realized that the 4 brats were much more powerful than they had imagined. Orson was previously beaten by Shao Yanzhao to the point where he could not fight back. That was because Shao Yanzhao was not an ordinary early-stage Foundation establishment realm cultivator. He had many trump cards and cultivated high-level cultivation technique. In addition, Shao Yanzhao's innate talent was also extremely high. That was why Orson had fallen into his trap and got beaten up. If it wasn't for Li Daochong's intervention, the one being carried out tonight wouldn't be Shao Yanzhao, but Orson. The 4 guards' cultivation level was similar to Shao Yanzhao's, but their actual combat strength was far inferior. Orson, Okikan, and Lu Ming went up to the 3 guards and used their special skills to suppress the guards. The guard who attacked Li Daochong was the most miserable. He had just rushed forward when there was a buzzing sound in his head. His vision turned black and he fell to the ground unconscious. Li Daochong used his psychic power to attack and ended the battle simply and violently. When Ding Fugue saw this scene, the corner of his eyes suddenly twitched. The way he looked at Li Daochong instantly changed. Ding Fugue knew that Li Daochong was powerful, but he did not know that he was so powerful. It had only been a month since the entrance test, and even a Foundation establishment realm cultivator was not Li Daochong's match. Ding Fugue was shocked and quickly contacted Yu Yen. After sending a message, Yu Yen replied within 2 to 3 seconds. "Damn fatty, send me your location." Ding Fugue immediately sent his location to Yu Yen. At the same time, the madam downstairs asked Shao Chongquan with a fawning expression, "Senior Shao, is young Master Shao all right?" Shao Chongquan looked down at the brothel keeper with disdain, as if he hadn't heard the brothel keeper's words. He went up and slapped her. Puh! Half of the brothel keeper's face instantly swelled up. After being hit, The brothel keeper didn't show any resentment or anger. Even in her heart, she didn't have the slightest intention of resisting. Xiao Chongquan said, "If something happens to my grandson, will you still be able to stand? Has your Xuanfang courtyard fallen to the point where you can't even guarantee the safety of your guests?" When the brothel keeper heard this, she secretly heaved a sigh of relief. These words clearly meant that Xiao Yanzhao was fine. Just as the brothel keeper was about to reply, there was a commotion outside Sun Fang's courtyard. A group of people walked in. The alley outside the courtyard had already been sealed off, not allowing anyone to enter or leave. Xiao Yanzhao, who had just been carried away, was also among them. His face had regained some color, but his eyes were filled with rage and killing intent. Obviously, he was furious that he had been knocked unconscious in front of so many people. The brothel keeper didn't expect the Xiao family to act so quickly. They returned in less than 10 minutes. A group of Xiao family members surrounded Xiao Yanzhao and followed behind Xiao Chongquan to the second floor. Qiao Shima was extremely anxious. She hurriedly ran in front of Li Daochong and said, "Xiaochong, quickly run away. The Xiao family members are all thugs." Li Daochong smiled indifferently and said, "Shima, you should hide first. I'll look for you when it's over. Remember to send me your location." Qiao Shima bit her lower lip and stood still. Her friends from Blue Bay Star were all here. Although she, Qiao Shima, didn't have much ability and couldn't even protect herself, she wasn't so disloyal. Li Daochong saw that she wasn't moving, so he didn't force her. He turned to look at the Xiao family members who were aggressively walking up the stairs. On the other side, Orson and the other two were still fighting with the guards. A large number of tables and chairs had been knocked over. After the Xiao family members arrived, the second floor was automatically emptied. Bang! Before the Xiao family members could reach the second floor, they heard a muffled sound. Okikin sent a guard flying with a punch. The guard crashed through the wall and fell into the courtyard behind Xuanfang courtyard. At the same time, a ball of flame ignited in Lu Ming's palm. The guard who was fighting with him was hit in the chest. He groaned and fell to the ground, motionless. Orson was even more direct. His fists fell like raindrops on the guard's body. The guard was beaten back repeatedly. His foot slipped and he slid down the hole in the wall, accompanying the previous guard. The 4 guards of Xuanfang courtyard were all knocked down. The brothel keeper wasn't surprised. These 4 brats were able to beat Xiao Yanzhao back. Relying on just 4 junior guards naturally couldn't do anything to them. The real guards of Xuanfang courtyard didn't make a move. The brothel keeper didn't intend to really care about this conflict. She eliminated the 4 junior guards just to prevent them from leaving. Now that the Xiao family members had arrived, there was nothing for Xuanfang courtyard to do. After dealing with the guards, Orson, Okikin, and Lu Ming quickly ran in front of Li Daochong. The 4 of them fought side by side. The 4 youngsters from Blue Bay Star looked at each other. They could see the hot-bloodedness in each other's eyes. The 4 of them didn't show the slightest bit of fear even though they were surrounded by strong enemies. Surging battle intent soared from the 4 of them. Xiao Chongquan, who had just stepped onto the second floor, was surprised. As a Jin Dan cultivator, he could casually release his aura to scare the people around him. But at this moment, Xiao Chongquan's aura was completely ineffective. The battle intent emitted from the 4 youngsters actually cancelled out his aura. Hotheads? 4 of them? Xiao Chongquan's heart shrank slightly. If they really encountered hotheads, it would be troublesome. Could it be that they really killed them? Definitely not. Xuanfang courtyard wasn't the Xiao family's backyard. Countless eyes were watching. No matter how capable the Xiao family was, they wouldn't dare to kill 4 young cultivators in front of so many people. If they really did that, the Xiao family would be seized by the Federation Security Bureau in less than half an hour. As the thought flashed through his mind, Xiao Chongquan suddenly froze. He was a dignified Jin Dan cultivator, but he was actually frightened by 4 youngsters. Xiao Changquan faintly felt that something wasn't right. Why would he have such thoughts? Psychokinesis interference? Xiao Changquan then realized that there seemed to be an external force interfering, guiding him to have such thoughts. Xiao Changquan sucked in a cold breath. He was a Jin Dan cultivator. Who could interfere with him? Xiao Changquan reacted and was about to counterattack, but the invisible psychokinesis disappeared without a trace. Li Daocheng's expression was calm as he watched the Xiao family walk over. The psychokinesis interference was naturally released by him. His goal was to stall for time, and every second counted. Although Li Daocheng's psychokinesis was strong, it was far from being able to defeat a Jin Dan cultivator. The psychokinesis interference just now was naturally released by Li Daocheng. Although it successfully interfered with Xiao Changquan, Li Daocheng had already done his best and almost suffered a backlash. The psychokinesis of a Jin Dan cultivator was indeed strong. Fortunately, Li Daocheng stopped in time and wasn't discovered. He didn't give Xiao Changquan any chance to counterattack. As long as it wasn't a Jin Dan cultivator, it was impossible for a normal Jin Dan cultivator to hurt Li Daocheng with a psychokinesis attack. Naturally, no one knew about this round of secret competition. Even Xiao Changquan himself wasn't completely sure that he had been interfered with by psychokinesis. After Xiao Yanzhao came up, the first thing he saw was Qiao Shima standing behind Li Daocheng. The murderous glint in his eyes intensified. Yan Zhao, is it them? Xiao Changquan asked in a low voice. It's them. Xiao Yanzhao pointed at Li Daocheng and shouted. Xiao Changquan narrowed his eyes and glanced at the four of them. You have guts to hit Yan Zhao. I won't make things difficult for you. Break your arms and kowtow to apologize. Then, the Xiao family won't pursue what happened just now. How about it? Li Daocheng smiled and shook his head. You're incompetent, so you called the elders of your family to back you up. TSK, I've learned something new. As soon as Li Daocheng said this, Qiao Shima's small face turned pale and her delicate body trembled slightly. A trace of despair even appeared in her eyes. Li Daocheng's stupidity seemed to be even worse than before. The other party was a Jin Dan cultivator. Wasn't he asking for trouble by talking to a Jin Dan cultivator like this? Even if the Xiao family didn't dare to kill a cultivator in public, they could easily beat him up and make him suffer. They could even secretly injure him. It wouldn't be difficult for them to find an opportunity to kill him in the future. However, Li Daocheng's words made Xiao Changquan's face flush red. He was a little embarrassed. At this time, the brothel keeper came up. When she heard this, she knew that the opportunity to curry favor with the Xiao family had come. She immediately shouted, Brat, are you afraid of saying this? Since you're not incompetent and have great ability, then let us see. After saying this, the brothel keeper clapped her hands. Clap, clap. A figure flashed from behind. A young man wearing a black Taoist robe appeared. Xuanfang Courtyard's senior guard, Puye, late-stage foundation establishment. Daring to behave atrociously in Xuanfang Courtyard. Puye, break his dog legs, the brothel keeper said sternly. Puye smiled coldly and instantly appeared in front of Li Daocheng. He punched out, bringing along a cyclone, and blasted towards Li Daocheng's face. Be careful, Lu Ming said anxiously. Li Daocheng was already prepared. Song ink flashed. Whoosh. Song ink swung out like lightning. Puye's expression froze. He took a step back and suddenly turned sideways, narrowly avoiding it. Puye was shocked and angry. Spirit chi surged out of his body. A sharp canine tooth blade appeared in his hand. He shouted, Mountain Slash. Xiao Changquan saw this scene and sneered, Just break his leg. The brothel keeper said, Puye, did you hear that? Li Daocheng held Song ink in his hand and swung out. 9 split saber techniques 6th layer, sun-breaking slash. Clang. Clang. The airflow exploded. Puye quickly retreated 3 step. Li Daocheng retreated 5 step. What? Xiao Chongquan and the brothel keeper were shocked. Puyi was in the late stage of foundation establishment. That kid actually faced him head-on and didn't fall into a disadvantage. Orson, Aokachuan, and Lu Ming were confused. What was Li Daocheng's cultivation level now? Qiao Shima's small mouth opened. She looked at Li Daocheng's back in disbelief. Ding Fugui's fat face showed a more determined expression. Brother Li didn't follow the wrong person. Puyi's expression darkened. He swung his blade again. The void seemed to be split open. Kill him. Xiao Yanzhao saw that Puyi was really angry and wanted to kill him. He couldn't help but whisper. At this moment, a beautiful figure flashed by. With a bang, Puyi just raised his canine tooth blade. His whole body flew backward, straight to where Xiao Chongquan was standing. Xiao Chongquan raised his hand to stop Puyi. His expression froze. Who is it? Your grandaunt. Chapter 306. As soon as Yu Yan's voice fell, the brothel keeper shouted, "Where did this witch come from? How dare you speak like that?" Slap. Before the brothel keeper finished speaking, a large hand slapped her across the face. The brothel keeper looked at Xiao Chongquan in confusion. This old lady was speaking up for you. Why did you hit me? The brothel keeper did not know that Xiao Chongquan's slap had saved her life. With Yu Yan's temper, if the brothel keeper called her a witch, she would have killed her. Yu Yan was only temporarily the leader of the vanguard regiment. Her main job was as a secret agent. As for her job scope, it was not much different from that of an assassin. Yu Yan did have the intention to kill, but with this slap, her killing intent disappeared. Xiao Chongquan did not even look at the brothel keeper after the slap, only sternly shouting, "Shut up." Then, he looked at Yu Yan, and the gloomy expression on his face disappeared in an instant. It was replaced by a flattering smile. "Xiao Chongquan greets Lord Yu." Xiao Chongquan bowed. "Xiao Chongquan, I haven't seen you in 2 months, your courage has grown a lot." Yu Yan coldly called his name. "What does Lord Yu mean?" Xiao Chongquan did not understand. "You dare to touch my people?" Yu Yan retorted. "Lord Yu's people? Who?" Xiao Chongquan faintly felt that something was wrong. He naturally knew who Yu Yan was talking about, but his face showed an inexplicable expression. "Surname Xiao, don't play dumb in front of me. Take your people and scram, and I won't bicker with you." Yu Yan's tone was somewhat cold. Almost no one present knew Yu Yan, and did not know who she was. But after listening to the conversation between the two, everyone could see that Xiao Chongquan was very wary of this graceful woman, and even a little afraid. The Xiao family had a large business, and Xiao Chongquan was a cultivator of Jindan. There was actually someone who could make him show such a weak state. Everyone present couldn't help but look at Yu Yan with strange gazes. Almost all of them had questions in their hearts. Where did this woman come from? Yu Yan didn't give him any face in front of so many people. Xiao Chongquan's face turned green and white. He was angry, but he didn't dare to show it. The Northwest Frontier Vanguard Regiment commanded by Yu Yan was the sharpest sword in Qin Zhan's hands. She commanded the most special legion in the Northwest Cultivation Army. What was she doing on Dark Parasol Planet instead of staying at the front lines? Xiao Chongquan was puzzled. That's right, recruit special talents. Xiao Chongquan quickly figured it out. Most of the talents selected from the joint examination of 100 schools would be divided among the famous schools, while a small portion would be recruited by the military. Yu Yan could only have appeared on Kangwu Planet to observe the joint examination of 100 schools. This Zhao's grandson was almost beaten to death. This Xiao is only here to seek justice. Could it be that Lord Yu wants to shield your subordinate? Although Xiao Chongquan was afraid of Yu Yan, he was still a mid-stage Jindan cultivator. Moreover, there were so many people watching. No matter what, he couldn't really leave like a stray dog after saying a few words. Xiao Chongquan mistakenly thought that one of the 4 boys was Yu Yan's subordinate. Xiao Chongquan, are you testing my patience? It's not too late to scram now. If you don't leave now, then don't leave. Yu Yan's voice turned even colder. Xiao Chongquan's face turned ugly. Yu Yan's words were sharp and aggressive. She didn't even give him a way out. As long as this woman didn't speak so harshly and casually said something normal, Xiao Chongquan wouldn't hesitate to turn around and leave. But Yu Yan kept telling him to scram. Xiao Chongquan was riding a tiger and couldn't get off. How could he leave? With so many people watching, where would he put his old face? The dignified Xiao family couldn't afford to lose face like this. Xiao Chongquan steeled his heart and was about to shed all pretense of cordiality and clamor when there was a commotion outside. Immediately after, a group of dozens of fully equipped cultivator soldiers wearing the specially made Taoist robes of the vanguard regiment rushed in. The austere aura unique to these soldiers instantly enveloped the entire place. Ordinary people had never seen such a scene before. Even the domineering Xiao family generals looked timid. No matter how awesome your Xiao family was, it was nothing in front of a cultivator army. Seeing this, Xiao Chongquan's courage to shed all pretense of cordiality instantly vanished. Xiao Chongquan had never expected that Yu Yan would bring so many cultivator soldiers to observe the joint examination of 100 schools. Half of these dozens of people were actually foundation establishment cultivators. How was this an inspection? Were they here to fight a war? Such elites were enough to flatten a few fourth-class cultivation planet. Even on Kangwu planet, such elites were enough to threaten many middle-class families. Lord Yu, should we seal this place? The leader of this group of cultivator soldiers, a non-commissioned officer, walked up to Yu Yan respectfully. Yu Yan didn't reply immediately. Instead, she looked at Xiao Chongquan. Let's go. Xiao Chongquan snorted coldly and left in a huff. Grandpa. Xiao Yanzhao was unwilling to give up. This is all your fault. Xiao Chongquan glared at Xiao Yanzhao before he stepped into the air and left. Now that their leader had left, the Xiao family didn't dare to stay any longer. They all turned and left. The Xiao family was scared away? Everyone present in Xuanfang courtyard was astonished. Although the cultivator army was famous for its fighting prowess, the Xiao family had military achievements. There were also experts in the clan who held positions in the cultivator army. An ordinary military background definitely wouldn't scare the Xiao family. Everyone stared at the woman in front of them in shock. Her background had become even more mysterious and unpredictable. The procuress was at a loss. She couldn't just stand there or walk away. Her face had been slapped twice and was now swollen like a pig's head. She was in a very sorry state. Lu Ming, did you call him here? Aokachuan asked suspiciously. It would be great if I knew such an awesome person. Lu Ming curled his lips. No, then who called him here? Doesn't your Lu family have a military background? Aokachuan asked curiously. Seeing the Xiao family leave just like that, Qiao Shima couldn't believe it. In her eyes, the Xiao family was unshakable. Just as everyone was stunned by the aura of Yu Yan and the cultivator army, Yu Yan turned around. Her extremely cold and beautiful face instantly transformed into a charming smile as she looked at Li Daochong. Xiao Chongchong, big sister is very loyal. As soon as I received the news, I immediately flew 800 miles to help you out. Seeing that big sister has worked so hard, do you want to consider? Yu Yan no longer had the stern aura she had when facing the Xiao family. She looked at Li Daochong delicately and charmingly as she spoke. The 180-degree change in attitude caused everyone present to be dumbfounded. Yu Yan looked at Li Daochong with a smile, but there was some expectation in her beautiful eyes. She really wouldn't be satisfied if she didn't take such a talent under her command. Li Daochong knew what Yu Yan was going to say next. She was obviously going to recruit him into the vanguard regiment, so he interrupted her. Thank you, Lord Yu. I, Li Daochong, will remember this favor. If you need anything in the future, just ask. As long as I can do it, I will do my best. Li Daocheng's words were very clear. If he could do it, he would do it. If he couldn't, then he wouldn't help even if he wanted to. For example, joining the Vanguard Regiment. Li Daocheng had his own plans. His goal in participating in the joint examination of 100 schools was to enter the Big Four. As for anything else, he wouldn't consider it for the time being. Disappointment flashed through Yu Yan's eyes for a moment before it disappeared. She then smiled and said, "You said it. All right, then I need your help now." Li Daocheng was stunned. "What is it?" "Drink with me." When the procuress heard this conversation, her legs went soft. How could she have known that the young man in front of her had such an awesome backer? Someone that even the Shao family was afraid of. Orson and the other two looked incredulous. When did Li Daocheng know such a person? It seemed that their relationship wasn't ordinary. Qiao Shima looked at Li Daocheng's back. She was shocked and surprised, but more than that, she was puzzled. What on earth had happened in the 2 months he had left Blue Bay Star? When Li Daocheng heard that she wanted to drink, he smiled and said, "If Lord Yu wants to drink, I'll accompany you at any time. How can this be a favor?" Yu Yan grabbed Li Daocheng's arm and said sweetly, "Little Chong, you keep people at arm's length every time, so they don't dare to ask you for anything." This heroine, who had just scared away the Shao family, didn't have any dignity left. She was even worse than the maids in Xuanfang Courtyard. She was even worse than the courtesans. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. They looked at Li Daocheng with eyes full of envy, jealousy, and hatred. Of course, they were even more shocked. Where did this young man come from? Li Daocheng had an apologetic look on his face. He said, "Let's go and drink. We're not going home until we're drunk tonight." "Where are we going? Can't we drink here?" "Xuanfang Courtyard's spirit wine is very famous on Kangwu Star," Yu Yan said. Li Daocheng turned to Ding Fugui and said, "Lord Yu can drink wherever he wants. Fugui, make the arrangement." The little fatty immediately went to find the procuress. After the incident just now, the procuress didn't dare to be negligent. She ignored the swelling on her face and immediately made the arrangements. The procuress immediately vacated a private room on the 3rd floor for Li Daocheng and the others to use. That night, the young men from Blue Bay Star drank with the Northwest Vanguard Regiment commander to their heart's content. They chatted happily and heard many stories about the front lines. As for the incident just now, it was as if it never happened. Xuanfang Courtyard didn't mention it at all. Good wine and good dishes filled the table. Yu Yan only stopped after Orson collapsed. Akin and Lu Ming had already fallen asleep. Among the people drinking, Li Daocheng was the only one who was still sober. "Little Chong, I didn't expect that not only are you good at fighting, but you're also good at drinking. Big Sister likes you more and more." "Hee hee, do you want to go with Big Sister tonight?" Yu Yan's face was flushed red. She hugged Li Daocheng's shoulder and said vaguely. She was tongue-tied. Yu Yan drank at least 1.5 liters of Black Frost Origin fire wine. This kind of spirit wine was like the combination of ice and fire. An ordinary person would collapse in one gulp. They wouldn't be able to wake up without sleeping for 3 days and 3 nights. A cultivator could drink 1 cup, and a foundation establishment cultivator could drink 2 cups. A Jean Dan cultivator could drink 3 cups. Yu Yan drank 1.5 liters. Orson and the others didn't drink the Black Frost Origin fire wine, but the 10,000 Flowers Red. They couldn't withstand the Black Frost Origin fire wine. Even so, they were still drunk by Yu Yan. Li Daocheng also drank the 10,000 Flowers Red, but he drank 2 whole jugs. Yu Yan drank a small cup of Black Frost Origin fire wine, and they drank a big cup. Yu Yan said that if she felt it was unfair, she could change it to a smaller cup and drink the Black Frost Origin fire wine. Akin thought that his alcohol tolerance was good, so he changed to a smaller cup and drank the Black Frost Origin fire wine. As a result, he was the first to collapse after 2 cups. Besides Li Daochong, the other sober person was Qiao Shima, who didn't drink. When she heard that Yu Yan wanted to take Li Daochong away, Qiao Shima's heart trembled for some reason. Lord Yu, you're drunk. Li Daochong supported Yu Yan. I'm not drunk. Little Chong Chong, as long as you agree to join the vanguard regiment, big sister will. Huff huff every night. Chapter 307. Ding Fugui didn't dare to sit at the same table as Yu Yan, so he waited outside the room until Li Daochong called for him. Only then did Fatty cautiously enter the room. Li Daochong asked Ding Fugui to make arrangements for the drunkards. Fatty didn't dare to touch Yu Yan. Although this woman didn't seem to be shy around Li Daochong and didn't care about trifles, Yu Yan was a notorious demoness in the military. She killed people without batting an eyelid because she was an agent of the Federation. She was allowed to kill people. Simply put, she could kill first and report later. It didn't matter if she killed the wrong person. Fortunately, Yu Yan's female assistant was also waiting outside. Her assistant took her away. However, it took a lot of effort to move Yu Yan away from Li Daochong. The woman's arms were tightly wrapped around Li Daochong's neck. Qiao Shima felt a little sour when she saw this scene. Although this feeling was unreasonable, it couldn't be suppressed. After all, she and Li Daochong had been married. Although it was a fake marriage, the two of them had lived under the same roof for a period of time. Qiao Shima's feelings were complicated. She sat with Qiao Shima for the whole night, rarely speaking. She just listened quietly and occasionally toasted. From beginning to end, Yu Yan didn't even ask who she was. Women were sensitive creatures. Qiao Shima could feel that this military heroine was hostile towards her. After everyone was sent away, Qiao Shima mustered up the courage to tell Li Daochong about her. But before Qiao Shima could speak, Li Daochong asked, "Shima, why are you a maid in a place like this?" Qiao Shima sighed bitterly and continued, "After you left, a lot of things happened on Blue Bay Star. The Qiao family has been disbanded." Li Daochong's eyes moved slightly. He wasn't too surprised. Given the Qiao family situation, disbanding was a matter of time. Qiao Shima couldn't turn the tide with her ability. However, Li Daochong didn't expect it to be so soon. He originally thought it would take at least 2 or 3 years for the family to collapse. Li Daochong didn't interrupt. He quietly waited for Qiao Shima to adjust her emotions and tell him the whole story. After more than 10 minutes, Qiao Shima told him the whole story. After a short silence, Li Daochong said, "Take me to see Sinuo. Maybe I can save her." Qiao Shima looked at Li Daochong gratefully. Li Daochong interrupted, "You don't have to say anything. At home, you rely on your parents. When you go out, you rely on your friends. We're all friends, so I should help you." She didn't know why, but when Li Daochong said such words, Qiao Shima's heart palpitated for no reason. Once upon a time, Li Daochong looked down on her. However, in just over a year, Qiao Shima suddenly realized that she didn't even have the qualifications to look up to him. Thinking back to the past, Qiao Shima's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She could only blame herself for not having good taste. If she hadn't had those thoughts back then, and had sincerely fulfilled the marriage agreement, perhaps everything would have been different. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. What if was only an if, not reality. Li Daochong left Xuanfang courtyard with Qiao Shima. When they walked past the procuress, she didn't even ask, nor did she dare to ask. Even the Xiao family couldn't do anything to this guy. Xuanfang courtyard was nothing. Before Li Daochong left, he sent a message to Ding Fugui, asking him to deal with the matter of redeeming Qiao Shima. As soon as Ding Fugui received the message, he immediately went to find the procuress. If it was someone else, it wouldn't be so easy to redeem her. Xuanfang courtyard wouldn't let her go without extorting a large sum of money. After Ding Fugui told the procuress about this matter, she took out the contract without saying a word and said with a fawning expression, If that sir has taken a fancy to that servant girl, he can just take her away. There's no need to pay. We offended him just now. We were blind. Take it as an apology to that sir. Ding Fugui said seriously, just pay as much as you should. There's no need for you to send her. Does my big brother lack money? The procuress hurriedly said, Yes. Sir, you're right. Then give me 100,000 Federation coins. Ding Fugui took the contract from the procuress' hand and threw her a money bag. There are 500 spirit stones inside. My big brother won't take advantage of you. How could a servant girl of Xuanfang Courtyard have 100,000 Federation coins? This should be enough. From now on, that girl has nothing to do with Xuanfang Courtyard. If I find out that you're causing trouble for her, don't blame me for being rude. The procuress wanted to sign a contract to prove that she had no intention of looking for Qiao Shima again. She hurriedly said, Sir, don't worry. I've already given you the contract. The Federation follows the law. We're law-abiding citizens. Ding Fugui nodded. Okay, that's good. Qiao Shima brought Li Daochong to the courtyard she had rented before. Due to the rush, Qiao Shima didn't tidy up. After settling Qiao Shima down, she went out and didn't return. The courtyard was in a mess. Dust was everywhere, and there were many cobwebs. Seeing this scene, Li Daochong sighed in his heart. He didn't expect that the number one beauty of Tianyuan City, Qiao Shima, would end up like this. It was really a pity. Beautiful women had a short life. When Li Daochong saw Qiao Shima lying in the spiritual liquid vat with a black face and no signs of life, he sighed even more. This girl used to have a fiery temper and could be considered a heroine, but now she was half dead. Li Daochong immediately placed his hand on Qiao Shima's back and channeled a wisp of spirit energy into her body to check her condition. In less than 3 minutes, Li Daochong had a rough idea. Qiao Shima had suffered serious internal injuries. Her spirit meridians were almost broken, and there was cold poison in her internal organs. She had basically stopped working. If not for the spiritual liquid, Qiao Shima would have died. Although the injury was serious, it wasn't a problem for Li Daochong. As long as she wasn't dead, there was still hope. If she was dead, there was no way to save her. Li Daochong immediately channeled his spirit energy into Qiao Shi's body. Gurgle gurgle. Under Li Daochong's control, the spiritual liquid in the vat boiled like boiling water and seeped into Qiao Shima's body at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, half of the spiritual liquid disappeared, and the remaining half turned turbid white. The cold poison in Qiao Shima's body was forced out by Li Daochong. Li Daochong naturally became more proficient in using spirit energy to nourish the body after he reached the Foundation establishment realm. Qiao Shima's cultivation level wasn't high, so the treatment was relatively easy. Half an hour later, the black color on Qiao Shima's face faded and gradually became rosy. The spirit meridians in her body were connected one by one and restored to normal. After another half an hour, Li Daochong exhaled softly and removed his hand from Qiao Shima's body. Throughout the whole process, Qiao Shima stood aside and watched nervously. When she saw that Qiao Shima's complexion had improved, her beautiful face lit up with joy. When Li Daochong removed his hand, she couldn't wait to ask, Daochong, how is it? Can Qiao Shima be saved? Li Daochong's forehead was slightly sweaty. He adjusted his breathing and replied, She's fine now. She'll recover after resting for half a month. With that said, Li Daochong took out 1,000 spirit stones from his storage bag and threw them on the table. Take these spirit stones. I'll help you deal with the Xiao family. Qiao Shima looked at the spirit stones and a layer of mist appeared in her eyes. She couldn't control her emotions anymore and rushed over to hug Li Daochong. Daochong, I'm sorry. Li Daochong didn't move. He didn't raise his hand to hug Qiao Shima, but he didn't push her away either. After a while, he patted Qiao Shima's shoulder. Okay, I have to go. Take good care of Qiao Shima during this time. Qiao Shima wanted to ask Li Daochong to stay, but she couldn't find any reason to do so. When Li Daochong returned to the hotel that Ding Fugue had arranged for him, it was already the wee hours of the morning. Little Fatty didn't dare to sleep first and kept waiting. "Brother Li, I've done everything you asked me to do," Ding Fugue reported immediately. "You've worked hard. Go to sleep. I won't be going anywhere tomorrow or the day after. You can go do your own things. Come pick me up the day after tomorrow to take me to the entrance exam for the student recruitment meet," Li Daochong said simply and went into his bedroom. On the top floor of the Shao Group building, Xiao Chongquan stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with an ashen face. A member of the Xiao family stood beside him and reported the results of the investigation. After Xiao Chongquan left, Xiao Chongquan knew everything that had happened in Xuanfang Courtyard. Yu Yan had actually thrown herself at the young man who had injured Xiao Yanzhao. It was simply unimaginable. Yu Yan didn't need a human. She was one of the backup candidates for the Divine General Special Operations Team, the most powerful organization in the Federation. She was a super genius who had a chance of breaking through to the Yuanying stage within 10 years. Even now, Yu Yan's identity was very impressive. She was a secret agent of the Federation and temporarily held the position of the commander of the Northwest Army's Vanguard Regiment. She was directly under Qin Zhan's command, but her position was the same as Qin Zhan's. If that wasn't the case, why would Xiao Chongquan be afraid? With just Yu Yan's Jin Dan early-stage cultivation and the dozens of cultivators in the army, Xiao Chongquan wouldn't be scared. The Xiao family was a big family on the Kangwu planet. They even had a late-stage Jin Dan ancestor who was a major general in the army. How could they be afraid of a commander of the Vanguard Regiment who was only a colonel? It was precisely because Yu Yan was so impressive that she could throw herself at him that Xiao Chongquan had to take her seriously. After returning to the clan, the first thing Xiao Chongquan did was to immediately investigate the background of that young man. The members of the Xiao family's intelligence team weren't to be trifled with. In just a few hours they had the results. "What? He's Li Tianyang's son? Are you sure?" Xiao Chongquan's face revealed a look of surprise. "Grand Elder, there's no mistake. This child's name is Li Daochong, Li Tianyang's only son," the soldier continued to report. "No wonder Yu Yan values this brat so much. Li Tianyang was her immediate superior back then." Xiao Hongming, who had been sitting on a huge chair behind a huge office desk, suddenly said. Xiao Hongming, the current head of the Xiao family, Xiao Yanzhao's father, was at the peak of foundation establishment. Ouch, it hurt so much. Just as Xiao Hongming's voice fell, Xiao Yanzhao, who was lying on a temporary bed on the other side, let out a cry of pain. Blue lightning flashed across Xiao Yanzhao's body from time to time and disappeared with two papa sounds. It would appear again after a few minutes. The reason why Xiao Yanzhao still fainted after taking the antidote was not because he was poisoned, but because a trace of spiritual sun lightning had entered his body. Xiao Chongquan had immediately forced the spiritual sun lightning out of Xiao Yanzhao's body, thinking that everything would be fine. Who would have thought that after returning, Xiao Yanzhao would be in unbearable pain? This child is so insidious and actually used underhanded methods. How can Zhao participate in the joint examination of 100 schools like this? Xiao Hongming looked at his son worriedly. "Hongming, don't worry. I've already contacted Wei Beitong. He'll come over tomorrow to treat Yin Zhao," Xiao Chongquan said. "Wei Beitong? He's willing to treat Zhao?" Xiao Hongming's face was full of disbelief. Although the Xiao family was powerful, it was nothing compared to the Wei family. Wei Beitong was the head of the Wei family, so why would he care about the Xiao family? "I have something that the old man wants. I've already promised to give it to him as long as he cures Yan Zhao," Xiao Chongquan said through gritted teeth, clearly unwilling to give up what he had said. "Father, Zhao was beaten and plotted against and suffered so much. Are we just going to let it go like this?" Xiao Hongming was unwilling to give up. Chapter 308. Xiao Yanqing was Xiao Hongming's adopted son. He was in the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm and was a man of sacrifice trained by the Xiao family. Father, I think it's better to let Qing kill that brat in the final test. Xiao Hongming gritted his teeth in anger when he saw his son's pained expression. Killing him is too easy. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death, Xiao Chongquan said with a cold expression as he thought about what happened in Xuanfang courtyard tonight. Father, do you want to? Xiao Hongming seemed to have thought of something. There's no use keeping the soul catcher locked up in the Xiao family's dungeon. Let Qing take it with him, Xiao Chongquan said coldly. Xiao Hongming was shocked. He didn't expect his father to use the soul catcher captured by the Xiao family many years ago. This soul catcher was used for experiment. The Xiao family had researched all kinds of high-level spirit formations and spirit talismans for many years and would be used on this soul catcher. After all these years of torture, the soul catcher's consciousness had long disappeared. It had become a powerful soulless nether ghost without any consciousness. A soul catcher's strength was equivalent to a human cultivator in the Jin Dan realm. The most powerful soul catcher could reach the late stage of the Jin Dan realm. The soul catcher locked up by the Xiao family was a heart-devouring ghost. Nether ghosts were divided into two types: spirit body and underworld body. The soul catcher was the last level of the spirit body and the first level of the underworld body. The soul catcher ghost was a nether ghost with a half-nether body. The heart-devouring ghost, as its name implied, was a ghost that ate hearts. It was shaped like a giant ape and had hook-like claws. It ate people's hearts as food. With a swipe of its claws, it could grab out and devour the heart along with the soul. A heart-devouring ghost in its peak state was equivalent to a middle-stage Jin Dan cultivator. The Xiao family's heart-devouring ghost was half-dead. Its strength was greatly reduced, but it still had the strength of a peak foundation establishment realm cultivator. Xiao Chongquan originally wanted to refine this soul catcher for cultivation, but everything that happened tonight made him change his mind. Xiao Chongquan was still a bit worried about letting only Xiao Yanqing do it. According to the investigation, Li Daochong was first in the direct test. Just based on this, it could be confirmed that this kid's strength was not weak. Tonight, he only used one move to defeat Xiao Yanzhao, and even used a hidden move. With both strength and means, it would not be easy to deal with them. Xiao Chongquan had always been cautious. He would either not make a move, or if he did, he would be steady, accurate, and ruthless. Good. I'll use that soul catcher ghost to devour that brat's soul heart, then possess him and let him kill as he pleases. Ha, Grandpa, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. Xiao Yanzhao endured the pain and laughed strangely. Humph, it's too early for you to laugh. Stay at home for the next 2 days and don't go anywhere. Reflect on yourself. If you can't get into the top 10, your future resources will be cut in half, Xiao Hongming said sternly. Father! Xiao Yanzhao wailed. Xiao Hongming pretended not to hear him and got up to leave. Xiao Chongquan jumped out of the window. For the next 2 days, Li Daochong stayed in the hotel room to meditate and regulate his breathing, adjusting his body to its best condition. Early in the morning of the 3rd day, Ding Fugue ran over to pick up Li Daochong. However, Ding Fugue was not alone. He followed behind Yu Yan. The little fatty had a worried look on his face. He was very unhappy that Lord Yu had stolen his job. When Yu Yan saw Li Daochong, she smiled and said, Xiaochong, big sister will bring you to the recruitment meeting today. Let this fatty stay behind. Li Daochong naturally had no objections. It was the same no matter who brought him, as long as there was a guide. When Yu Yan said this, Ding Fugue's face immediately turned bitter. He looked at Li Daochong pleadingly and clasped his hands together, silently begging Li Daochong to bring him along. Ding Fugue had not gone anywhere for the past 2 days, and had long been bored to death. It was not easy for him to wait until the 3rd day to go out for some fresh air. However, Lord Yu appeared and made him continue to be a bored pig. The little fatty was about to go crazy. He did not dare to go out alone. Qin Zhan had asked him to receive Li Daochong, not to come to Kanwu Planet to play. As long as he brought Li Daochong along, Ding Fugue could go anywhere. If Li Daochong was not by his side, the little fatty did not dare to go anywhere. After all, he was not alone. One of Qin Zhan's assistants and a few soldiers had followed along. They were said to be assisting Ding Fugue, but they were also acting as informants. These fellows could easily send Ding Fugue to the 18th level of hell with just a few words. The little fatty was very clear that the reason he was able to obtain his current military position was all because of Li Daochong. Qin Zhan would not take a fancy to him. It was all because of the friendship he had established with Li Daochong during the entrance test. Ding Fugue was not stupid. He knew that Qin Zhan had used him for Li Daochong. This Chief Qin had not given up on recruiting Li Daochong. Seeing Ding Fugue's expression, Li Daochong almost laughed out loud. Yu Yan noticed that Li Daochong's expression was not right. She immediately turned to look at Ding Fugue, who was standing behind her. The little fatty's reaction at this moment was unparalleled. His crying face instantly returned to normal without a trace. Yu Yan did not notice anything unusual. She could only glare at Ding Fugue. Li Daochong could not help but laugh out loud. Ha ha ha, Lord Yu, when you go out, you need someone to serve you tea and run errands. Bring this fatty along. Yu Yan's beautiful eyebrows twitched. She was a little unwilling. She had purposely sent Li Daochong away. This fatty was now Qin Zhan's man. With him following, it would not be so obvious that she wanted to rope in Li Daochong. Yu Yan had an ulterior motive. She had the same goal as Qin Zhan. She had not given up on recruiting Li Daochong. What did the Federation lack the most right now? Talent. Li Daochong was a talent. How could she let him go? What Yu Yan's vanguard lacked the most was a fierce general like Li Daochong. The scene of this kid cutting down the tongue pulling Ghost in half during the entrance test was really amazing. Yu Yan felt that her talent was monstrous enough. She had broken through the Jin Dan at the age of 25 and became a reserved candidate for the Federation's Special Intelligence Team. Even so, Yu Yan might not have been able to cut down the tongue-pulling Ghost in half when she was 19. Yu Yan had watched Li Daochong's battle video during the entrance test no less than dozens of times. This kid was not only brave and fierce, he was also very smart. The Vanguard group was too suitable for this kid. Yu Yan was very confident in her judgment. Although Yu Yan did not want to take Ding Fugue with her, since Li Daochong had said so, she could not insist. All right, then let's take him. After getting permission, Ding Fugue shed tears of gratitude towards Li Daochong. The three of them left the hotel together and boarded a flying shuttle with a military license plate. They flew into the sky and sped towards the enrollment venue. Before the joint examination of 100 schools, an open enrollment meeting would be held. Each enrollment school would set up a reception area so that the reference students could freely understand the cultivation high schools. These enrollment schools would each have a general information about the reference students for this joint examination of 100 schools, so they would have a general understanding of each student. The enrollment venue was set up at Kanwu Planet's No. 1 school, Songyun University. Songyun University was located in the southern suburbs of Songyun City. Behind it was the Songyun mountain range, and on its side was the boundless sea. The concentration of spirit qi was the highest on Kanwu Planet. It covered an area of more than 1,000 square kilometers and had all the cultivation facilities in the school. There were more than 100 cultivation halls alone. With 250,000 students and teachers, it was a veritable giant cultivation institution. It was the strongest cultivation institution in the Fourth Ring Starfield. Today, Songyun University had specially set aside a cultivation hall for the enrollment meeting. More than 200 famous schools from various cultivation planets in the Federation had gathered together to set up reception areas to recruit students. Li Daochong entered the enrollment venue accompanied by Yu Yan. Only candidates who had obtained the qualification for the reference could enter. Li Daochong had a direct card, so he naturally had no obstructions. Yu Yan was an important member of the military, so she was naturally not stopped either. Ding Fugue was not so lucky. He was mercilessly blocked outside the door. The little fatty could only wait outside obediently. This enrollment meeting was the highest standard in the Federation's territory. It was Li Daochong's first time seeing such a big scene. There was a sea of people as soon as they entered the venue. Many candidates had already arrived early to wait. The total number of candidates in the Fourth Ring Starfield's joint examination was 399,831. These more than 3 million people were selected from more than 2,000 cultivation planets in the Fourth Ring Starfield. There were more than 3 billion people in total. Every examinee was 1 in a million. In order to attract students to come and learn more about them, the major universities used all kinds of methods. Some used beautiful senior sisters to seduce them, some displayed high-end cultivation techniques, and some even invited celebrities to help. These celebrities were naturally the school's alumni. Oh my God, am I dreaming? Isn't that Tang Xian? You're not dreaming. I saw it too. It's really Tang Xian. It's really Tang Xian. Which university is so awesome that they even invited Tang Xian? Let's go and take a look. Li Daochong and Yu Yan entered the venue and looked at the various universities. They had just looked at a dozen or so universities when someone suddenly screamed beside them. Then, there was a hubbub all around them as they swarmed toward a reception point in the west. Tang Xian? Li Daochong felt like he had heard this name before. Yu Yan smiled and said, "Do you want to go and take a look?" Li Daochong could not remember, so he asked, "Who is Tang Xian?" Yu Yan looked at Li Daochong as if she was looking at a monster. "You don't know Tang Xian? Are you kidding me?" Li Daochong was dumbfounded. This name did sound a little familiar. He seemed to have heard it often, but he just could not remember where he had seen it. Yu Yan saw that Li Daochong did not seem to be faking it, so she said, "Tang Xian is currently the most popular A-list female celebrity in the Federation. She has worked in movies and songs, and she looks like a goddess." A celebrity? Li Daochong suddenly understood. When he was in school, he often heard his classmates mention that he also had some information about Tang Xian in his memory. It was just that it was a little vague. After Li Daochong came here, he had been cultivating hard. He was not in the mood for entertainment, so he did not have much of an impression of Tang Xian. Chapter 309. After listening to Yu Yan's introduction, Li Daochong's attention was not on the celebrity Tang Xian, but on the soul formation and human immortals. The reason why the Shenghua Federation was able to resist the invasion of the Hades was because of the cultivation army. Without them, there would be no peace in the rear. However, the Hades did not dare to act rashly because of the soul formation cultivators. The low-level dark ghosts were not a threat to humans. These dark ghosts could not destroy humans no matter what they did. The real threat to humans was the dark ghosts above the level of Soul Catcher Ghost. At the level of Wu Ghost, a Wu Ghost could devour all the humans on a cultivation planet in just a few days if there was no resistance. Not even a speck of dust would be left. Yu Enniang could not deal with Wu Ghosts if he was not a human cultivator. Soul formation cultivators corresponded to the higher-level Grand Wizard Ghosts. Soul formation cultivators were the nuclear weapons of the Shenghua Federation. Any soul formation cultivator was a treasure of the Federation. Similarly, if a soul formation cultivator attacked the Hades, it would be a disaster. All the dark ghosts would have nowhere to hide and would be annihilated in an instant. Xiaochong, what are you thinking about? Why are you so engrossed? Yu Yan pushed Li Daochong. Nothing, Li Daochong said in realization. Nothing? You didn't respond when I called you a few times. Don't tell me you were mesmerized by Tang Xian's beauty? Yu Yan teased. Tang Xian? Who's Tang Xian? Li Daochong asked without thinking. F*ck, I just wasted my time talking to you. Yu Yan had a defeated expression on her face. Oh, that celebrity. Where is she? Li Daochong finally remembered and asked. Yes, it's on your left. Yu Yan pouted. Li Daochong looked up and realized that he had unknowingly walked into the reception area of a university. However, this reception area was different from the reception area that Li Daochong saw just now. The standard was much higher. The reception area was dozens of square meters, and the decorations were exquisite. There was a row of tables, and there were more than a dozen recruiters. Behind one of the largest tables sat a stunning woman in a purple robe. After seeing so many beautiful women, Li Daochong already had a certain degree of immunity to beauty, but when he saw the purple-clothed woman for the first time, he was still stunned. Her sitting posture was elegant, and her long hair was draped over her shoulders. Her purple robe was fitting and generous, and her waist was tight, showing off her ample bosom. Even though she wasn't revealing anything, she was still sexy and alluring. A fairy's appearance was nothing more than this. Among all the women that Li Daochong had seen, there were no more than 3 who could compare with this purple-clothed woman, and one of them was not even human. Tang Xian. Li Daochong had a deep impression of her. A stunning beauty could easily become the center of attention no matter where she was. This was an eternal truth. However, Li Daochong was only stunned at first sight, and quickly returned to normal. In terms of beauty, Snow Lady was still a notch above her. Compared to spirits, humans still lacked some innate spiritual energy. Of course, this woman called Tang Xian was definitely worthy of being called a stunning beauty. Compared to Qiao Shima, who was nominally the #1 beauty in Tianyuan City, she paled in comparison to a grand wizard. At this moment, there was a long line in front of Tang Xian's table. There were only a few people in front of the other recruiters, and some of them were even ignored. All the candidates were waiting for Tang Xian's signature. Many of them were extremely excited, and a few girls were so excited that they even cried. Chasing after celebrities was also a kind of illness. It was just her appearance. No matter how stunning she was, Li Daochong wouldn't pay too much attention to her for too long. After a single glance, he shifted his gaze away. Li Daochong was a little curious as to which cultivation high school this female celebrity had come from. He looked up and saw the 3 large words written on the temporary enrollment sign hanging there. North Star University. One of the 4 great universities of the Federation. Little Chong, don't you want to go get an autograph? It's not easy to see Tang Xian. Millions of young men in the Federation view her as their dream lover. Yu Yan egged him on. Li Daochong was a little curious. Autographs can't be eaten. I just didn't expect that a famous cultivation university like North Star University would produce an entertainment celebrity. North Star University is the oldest of the 4 great universities. It was founded more than 3,000 years ago and has produced many talented people in its long history. Among them, the cultivation department is North Star University's strongest department. The other 3 schools can't compare. The other department is ranked second. Tang Xian graduated from North Star University's Spiritual Sound department. Among the 4 great universities, I think North Star University is the most suitable for you, Yu Yan continued with her introductions. Let's take a look at them first. In reality, Li Daochong wasn't interested in North Star University. In the past 2 days in the hotel, aside from meditating and adjusting his breath, Li Daochong spent the rest of his time browsing the websites of the various famous schools on the Spirit Net. Cultivation was the least of Li Daocheng's worries. It didn't matter which school he entered. What he wanted to study the most was spirit sequence and talisman crafting. The importance of spirit sequence was becoming more and more obvious in the Great Cultivation era. Spirit sequence obtained through spirit-based programming could be used in various fields. Spiritualization was currently the most frequently mentioned term. Cultivation technology was becoming more and more mature. It had already begun to develop from industrialization to the spiritualization information era. Spirit sequence was simply what we call a program. Programs were implemented through various coding languages, while spirit sequence was implemented through spirit-based languages. Spiritualization was inseparable from spirit sequence. Spiritualization of flying shuttles, daily necessities, treasures, steel puppets, spiritual brains, and so on. Perhaps because Li Daocheng was a programmer in his previous life, he was very interested in this field of research. Talisman crafting was only one way to use spirit sequence. Li Daocheng already had a target school in mind, Taiji Academy. Among the Big Four, Taiji Academy was the only non-comprehensive cultivation school. The majors one could choose from were very limited. However, Taiji Academy had the best and most comprehensive spirit sequence major in the Federation. They produced a lot of spirit sequence masters. The only 2-star spirit sequence master in the Federation, Spiritual Talisman Spiritual Master, came from Taiji Academy. Apart from Taiji Academy, Li Daocheng wasn't interested in any other schools. Yu Yan heard Li Daocheng's words and felt anxious. She felt that Li Daocheng was still young and didn't have any idea how to choose a school. North Star University was right in front of him. Was there a need to look at other schools? There was no need at all. In terms of cultivation, North Star was the best. Yu Yan had also studied at North Star University's cultivation faculty for 2 years. It had been a great help to her later cultivation. Yu Yan was fully aware of the prowess of Beijing University's cultivation department. Given Li Daocheng's talent, if he were to enter Beijing University for further study, it would only take him 2 or 3 years to touch the threshold of the Oris core stage. Yu Yan saw that Li Daocheng didn't seem to be interested in North Star University and was worried that he would miss this good opportunity. It was very important to have a preliminary relationship with the school before the exam. After the exam results were out, it would be too late to contact the school. The school would think that you weren't sincere and would temporarily push you to the back, unless you topped the entire exam and got into the top 3. Otherwise, you would be ruthlessly pushed to the side. If someone had the same results as you, but they were ahead of you and had a relationship with the school, you would be eliminated by that person. It was similar to the college entrance examination. Yu Yan saw that Li Daocheng had already turned around and left. She suddenly grabbed Li Daocheng and said, "Little Cheng, since you're already here, let's take the test first." Test? Li Daocheng only had time to spit out these 2 words before Yu Yan pushed him onto a testing machine. "Why is he cutting the line?" Someone immediately complained. "That's right, he's really uncultured. He wants to enter North Star University like this. Teacher, someone is cutting the line." The teacher who was recording the test results raised his head and frowned. "Why is he cutting the line? Stand at the back and line up." Li Daocheng was embarrassed. He didn't know what was going on and was about to step down with an apologetic expression. Yu Yan held him down and turned to glare at the guy who reported him. She then took out an ID and handed it to the teacher. "He's a military reserve student and has something to do later. Don't you know that military personnel have priority?" When the teacher heard this, he glanced at the ID in Yu Yan's hand and was stunned. He immediately felt deep respect for her. Military reserve students can have priority. The examinees in the line who had objections shut up. The teacher then pressed the test button and immediately scanned the test. A few seconds later, the testing machine emitted a robotic female voice. Early Stage Foundation Establishment. There was a burst of gasps from the examinees in the line. The testing teacher revealed a surprised expression and couldn't help but look at Li Daochong a few more times. No less than hundreds of people had been tested this morning, and this was the first test result that was an early stage foundation establishment. "What's your name?" the testing teacher asked routinely. "Li Daochong." The testing teacher immediately entered the information into his wristwatch and began to search for information. It immediately showed that Li Daochong, 19 years old, Planet Crimson Sun, a sophomore at Beiyang University, participated in the direct test and scored first. He received a direct card and directly entered the final test of the 100-school joint examination. A seated candidate. The testing teacher immediately became spirited and said enthusiastically, "Student Li, please go over there and test your physique again. North Star University is very interested in students like you. After your physique test, you can fill in a form." When the examinees in the line heard this, there was an uproar. "Who is this kid? I don't know, I don't remember him. Early Stage Foundation Establishment, amazing. Could he be one of those freaks from Planet Kangwu?" Recruiting talents was the responsibility of every recruitment teacher. The testing teacher was very clear about the importance of getting first place in the direct test, and the result was an early stage foundation establishment. He immediately sent a message to the leader of the recruitment for North Star University. At this moment, Ho Xiangjie, who was talking to Jiang Jinluan, the vice dean of North Star Cultivation Academy, had a worried expression. "Dean Jiang," Bai Wuya said that he won't be coming to our North Star University. "He wants to go to Qingsu University," Ho Xiangjie said unwillingly. "He didn't say the reason?" Jiang Jinluan frowned and asked. "He did. He said that Qingsu University promised him a 2-year scholarship and 100 hours of free cultivation time in Qingsu Training Hall every month," Ho Xiangjie replied. "That's a big deal. Bai Wuya really knows how to pick. Our offer is indeed not as good as Qingsu University's," Jiang Jinluan exclaimed. "A 2-year scholarship is nothing, but 100 hours of free cultivation time in Qingsu Training Hall every month is amazing. Although our North Star Training Hall is not inferior to Qingsu Training Hall, the dean didn't give us the authority. It's good enough if we can get 10 hours of free cultivation time," Ho Xiangjie said awkwardly. As he spoke, Ho Xiangjie's wristwatch rang. He looked down and saw that it was a message from the testing teacher. "Teacher Ho, come over quickly. This year's number 1 in the direct test, Li Daochong, is here." Jiang Jinluan asked, "What's the situation?" Ho Xiangjie smiled. "Bai Wuya ran away and Li Daochong came." "Who?" "Li Daochong, the one with the highest score in the direct test this year. His score was evaluated by Qin Zhan. He's very valuable." Oh, that mysterious kid with very little information. Let's go and take a look. I want to see what the kid that even Qin Zhan praises looks like," Jiang Jinluan said curiously after a moment of sudden realization. Jiang Jinluan got up and was about to go over when Ho Xiangjie said, "Dean Jiang, why don't we call Tang Xian and use the star effect and the allure of the beautiful senior sister to directly take down Li Daochong? It'll make up for the loss of Bai Wuya." Chapter 310. After Li Daochong performed amazingly in the first test, he went to the Constitution test area. There were also many examinees waiting for the test. North Star University was one of the Big Four, so it was not easy to get in. The pre-test was just a selection process. If you could not even meet the basic requirements, then you could just get lost. North Star University's admissions staff would record the data of every examinee who came to take the test. Cultivation required to reach the middle stage of qi gathering, constitution required to condense jade bones, and fist strength required to reach 3,000 kilograms. The fist strength test did not exist in the qi refining stage. At this stage, the human body was still very weak, and the strength of a fist was insignificant. A peak stage Qi refining cultivator's fist strength was only around 1,500 kilograms, and that was only achievable by a body refining martial artist. Only after reaching the Qi gathering stage would one's fist strength have a qualitative leap. An early stage Qi gathering stage would be able to reach 2,000 kilograms, and killing a mammoth with one punch would be easy. After the Qi gathering stage, there would be a clear difference in the fist strength of each cultivator. The school conducted this test to determine the future direction of cultivation for the examinees. Only at this stage would there be a need to conduct the test. There was no need to conduct the test in the Qi refining stage when one's spirit vein had just awakened. Those with a strong fist strength were suited for close combat. Those with a medium fist strength were suited for weapons. Those with a weak fist strength were suited for long-range weapons. Li Daochong arrived at the physical test area. It was packed with people, and he could not even squeeze in. The result of the examinee just now was very shocking. It caused the examinees waiting to be tested to be extremely shocked. What a powerful guy! He has actually been reborn and formed spirit muscles. Only his internal organs and flesh have not yet been spiritualized. Making a fuss over nothing. If it was a nameless person with such a result, it would be normal to be surprised. But this guy is from the Shao family, it is very normal. Who is the Shao family? A branch family member, I think he is called Shao Feng. Oh, the Shao family has a large business, so they naturally do not lack cultivation resources. There is nothing strange about it. Of course, when Shao Yanzhao's results come out, you will be shocked to the heavens. The surrounding examinees discussed animatedly. Li Daochong didn't care at first, but when he heard about the Shao family, he looked over. An immature-looking young man came down from the testing platform. Although there were exclamations all around, the young man didn't look happy. There was even a hint of depression on his face. He was not very satisfied with his test result. Shao Feng, the test is over. Hurry up and come down. Don't you see that the young master is still waiting? A middle-aged man wearing a navy blue Tang-style robe below the stage shouted. As he spoke, the middle-aged man pulled Shao Feng down. A cold glint flashed across the latter's eyes for a fleeting moment. Due to Shao Feng's bloodline, his mother was a card slave. Even though his father, Shao Hongbang, was the head of the Shao family, it was useless. Card slaves in the Shenghua Federation were synonymous with lowly. Therefore, Shao Feng's status in the Shao family was extremely low. He was even inferior to a family guard. Even if he worked hard to cultivate and became the third most important person in the Shao family's younger generation, it was still useless. In this generation of the Shao family, the three most powerful people were Shao Yanqing, Shao Yanzhao, and Shao Feng. The first two had already built their foundation. Although Shao Feng hadn't built his foundation, he wasn't far from it. He was at the peak of the Qi gathering and could look down his nose at the Shao family's younger generation. And this was under the circumstances where Shao Feng's cultivation resources were extremely scarce. If Shao Feng and Shao Yanzhao had the same cultivation resources, how could he only be at the peak of the Qi gathering now? Shao Feng was unwilling, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't change his bloodline. His birth mother was a card slave. He could never change that. Shao Feng didn't want to change either. He never looked down on his mother, but he couldn't change the minds of the people around him. Even his father didn't care about them. In his father's eyes, taking them in, giving them a house to live in, and giving them food to eat was already a huge favor. He didn't let them down. The middle-aged man who shouted at Shao Feng was the Shao family's assistant, Zhang San. This person was very good at sucking up to those in power. Shao Hongming, the head of the family, thought highly of his style of doing things. As a servant, Zhang San's status was much higher than Shao Feng's. At that moment, Zhang San pulled Shao Feng down rudely, then put Xiao Yanzhao on the testing platform with a humble expression. Li Daochong was a little surprised to see Xiao Yanzhao again. 3 days ago at Xuanfang Courtyard, Li Daochong had secretly used a heavy hand, and it had been done very discreetly. That wisp of spirit yang lightning had contained a trace of Li Daochong's black underworld lightning. Although Li Daochong had transformed all of the black underworld lightning back then, Li Daochong had left some behind for future research. The spirit yang lightning mixed with the black underworld lightning had invaded Xiao Yanzhao's internal organs and spirit placenta. It was very difficult to get rid of all of it. Li Daochong's goal in doing this was to make it so that Xiao Yanzhao wouldn't be able to take part in the joint examination of 100 schools. He hadn't expected this kid to be fine so quickly. Did the Xiao family have such an awesome apothecary? Li Daochong couldn't help being on guard. While Li Daochong was deep in thought, there was a commotion around him. Xiao Yanzhao's test results were out. Jade bones, spirit muscles, and mystic blood had all taken form, and he was only one step away from a spirit body. Xiao Yanzhao's progress in the past few months is too fast. I remember that he had only just condensed jade bones last time. As the eldest young master of the Xiao family, he has all the cultivation resources he needs, and his talent isn't bad either. Of course, he's making rapid progress. If you had the Xiao family as your backer, you could also be as fast. The examinees all looked at Xiao Yanzhao enviously as he came down from the testing platform. Xiao Yanzhao was enjoying everyone's adoration and feeling pleased with himself. Suddenly, his gaze focused and he saw Li Daochong standing not far away, looking at him. Xiao Yanzhao smiled coldly and raised his hand to make a throat-slitting gesture. He walked up to Li Daochong and said, "Kid, you've got guts for daring to secretly attack me. But guts usually lead to a quick death." Li Daochong looked at Xiao Yanzhao disapprovingly and said indifferently, "You better not provoke me or you'll die even faster." Xiao Yanzhao disdainfully said, "Kid, I'll let you jump around again? In the next few days, you'll suffer in the final exam." Xiao Yanzhao wanted to say a few more vicious words, but he saw Yu Yan walking over from the side. His head shrank back. He had heard about this woman's background from his father in the past 2 days. It was best not to provoke this kind of demoness. After Xiao Yanzhao saw Yu Yan, he couldn't forget her. But after hearing about this beauty's deeds, he completely gave up on her. "Young Master Xiao, did this kid provoke you? Do you need help?" Xiao Yanzhao was just about to slip away when a tall young man walked over from the side. Behind the tall young man were a few examinees who wanted to curry favor with the Xiao family. They all stared at Li Daochong with a look that said, "Kid, you're really blind. Of all the people to provoke, you had to provoke young Master Xiao. Aren't you courting death? Stinking brat, get lost." Another rich young master came up and shouted, "You dare to provoke young Master Xiao? Do you believe that I won't break your legs right here?" Another person shouted fiercely. Xiao Yanzhao felt a headache coming on. He actually didn't want to clash with Li Daochong here, but this group of rich young masters was used to being rude and unreasonable. They didn't know what it meant to be low-key. Yu Yan had already walked over, but she didn't seem to want to interfere. Just now, she had gone to get the form. She didn't expect that in just a short while, someone would come looking for trouble with Li Daochong. Yu Yan crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked at this group of young people with interest. She really wanted to know how Li Daochong would deal with this kind of situation. "You can hit me. I won't fight back as long as you can break my legs." Li Daochong looked calmly at the rich young master who said those vicious words. That rich young master didn't expect the other party to say that. Shouldn't the other party be begging for mercy, or a wise man knows when to retreat? "Lu Qing, go!" someone shouted. This rich young master's name was Lu Qing. The Lu family was quite powerful on Kangwu planet, but he wouldn't dare to make a move in the recruitment ceremony. "Who is Li Daochong? Come up and take the test." At this moment, the teacher who was conducting the physique test called out. Li Daochong walked up to the testing platform under the gaze of a few rich young masters. This brat's body looks so frail. He probably hasn't even formed his jade bones yet. Ha ha ha, you think too highly of him. I think he's just a brat in the early stage of the qi gathering. He's just a fledgling who thinks he's very powerful. The other candidates in the queue were bored to death. In their opinion, Xiao Yinzhao's test result was the best result of the day. There wouldn't be a better result unless the three heroes of Kangwu planet appeared. Therefore, when Li Daochong stood on the testing platform, almost no one paid attention to him. Everyone's attention was attracted by Tang Xian. For some reason, this female celebrity stood up from the recruitment office and walked towards the testing area. Walking alongside her was the leader of this recruitment for North Star University, Ho Xiangjie, and the vice dean of the Cultivation Academy, Jiang Jinluan. Look, Tang Xian is walking over. Dean Jiang and leader Ho are also here. Why are these three core members of North Star University's recruitment here? Young Master Xiao, your test result must have alarmed them. You're only one step away from the spirit body realm. In the entire four-ring star zone, there shouldn't be more than 100 people who have achieved this. Xiao Yinzhao's heart skipped a beat and he became a little nervous. He didn't expect that his test result would alarm the three of them. He was immediately overjoyed. A hint of greed flashed through Xiao Yinzhao's eyes as he looked at Tang Xian. Who wouldn't want a goddess like her? Xiao Yinzhao dreamed of having Tang Xian for himself. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful the Xiao family was, they weren't powerful enough to touch Tang Xian. Without the core power of the Federation, it was impossible to touch a household name like her. Xiao Yinzhao watched as Tang Xian came closer and closer. He couldn't help but take 2 steps forward. He puffed out his chest and tried his best to maintain a decent posture as he prepared to greet this celebrity who was the center of attention. Xiao Yinzhao was just about to speak when Tang Xian brushed past him as if she didn't see him. Xiao Yinzhao stood rooted to the ground with a dumbfounded look on his face. The rich young masters standing behind Xiao Yinzhao were even more baffled. The other candidates were also baffled. Wasn't Tang Xian here for Xiao Yinzhao? Wasn't Xiao Yinzhao the strongest candidate here? At this moment, the testing device made a sound. Congratulations, you've achieved the spirit body realm. What? Xiao Yinzhao, the rich young masters, and the other candidates exclaimed in their hearts. They stared at the results displayed on the testing device, dumbfounded. Li Daochong walked down from the testing platform and came to Lu Qing. The latter's face was pale. Just now, he had said that he would break Li Daochong's legs. Now, it seemed like a King joke. He had already transcended his mortal body and achieved the spirit body realm. Break his legs? How could he do that? Just now, you said you wanted to. Li Daochong looked at Lu Qing and said. However, he was interrupted by Lu Qing before he could finish his sentence. Young Master Xiao, I suddenly remembered that I have something very important to do. I'll take my leave first. I'll treat you to a meal another day, Lu Qing said as he turned around and left in a hurry. Hello, are you Li Daochong? A pleasant and magnetic female voice sounded behind Li Daochong. Li Daochong turned around and was stunned. Wasn't this the celebrity Tang Xian? Why wasn't she in the admissions area? Why was she in the testing area? Chapter 311. Hello, I'm Tang Xian. I'm the spokesperson for North Star University's recruitment. May I have a word with you? Tang Xian looked at Li Daochong with a smile. Can't we talk here? Li Daochong had a strange look on his face. Tang Xian was stunned for a moment. There was a strange look in her eyes. There was actually someone who would reject her invitation for a private meeting? Tang Xian's self-esteem took a small hit at this moment. It was as if she had received some invisible damage. However, as a public figure, Tang Xian naturally would not reveal her inner thoughts. She still had a faint smile on her face. That's fine too. However, the conversation might take a long time. Don't you want to find a place to sit? Tang Xian replied. As soon as she said that, the surrounding candidates who heard her stared at Li Daochong with their mouths agape. Where did this kid come from? Tang Xian actually invited him for a private meeting in front of everyone. What the F***ck was going on? Xiao Yinzhao's body suddenly trembled. Tang Xian did not even put him in her eyes. The person she came to look for was Li Daochong. Damn it! Xiao Yinzhao cursed in his heart. He glared at Li Daochong angrily. He wished he could tear him into pieces. At this moment, Li Daochong was thinking of ending the test here as soon as possible so that he could go to the Tai Chi Academy's recruitment area to take a look. If it were not for Yu Yan, Li Daochong would not have come to the North Star University's recruitment area. Little Chong, since Miss Tang has said so, you should go with her. Alright, let's test your punching strength first. Yu Yan was anxious. She did not wait for Li Daochong to speak and immediately interrupted. Li Daochong looked at Yu Yan helplessly. This woman was determined to send him to North Star University. Li Daochong pulled Yu Yan to the side and whispered, Master Yu, I've told you before that I'm not interested in North Star University. I hope you can respect my choice. Yu Yan pretended to be careless and pushed Li Daochong, saying, Aya, you're still young and don't understand a lot of things. Listen to your sister, North Star University is definitely suitable for you. Hurry up and test your punching strength. After that, talk to Miss Tang. North Star University definitely wants to recruit you. Before Li Daochong could say anything, he had already been pushed onto the punching machine. In front of him was a circular punching machine, and the tester just had to punch it. Li Daochong was also curious about the strength of his punching strength. It had been a long time since he last tested his punching strength. The examinees below the stage didn't think highly of Li Daochong. This kid didn't look like a strength-type contestant. His figure was relatively thin, and he wore loose clothes. He looked very skinny. In addition, there were too many shocking results on the punching stage today. It seemed that Li Daochong wouldn't be able to break the record. However, this guy's mental association test was already heaven-defying. The punching strength test wouldn't have any effect on him. Even if his punching strength wasn't strong, it wouldn't be a big deal. Among the top 3 punching strength records today, 2 of them were left by Xiao Yinzhao and Xiao Yanqing. The last one was left by the barbarian youth nicknamed Iron Bull. Xiao Yinzhao's punching strength was 7,980 kilograms. Iron Bull's punching strength was 8,870 kilograms. And Xiao Yanqing's punching strength shocked the entire audience. It was 10,900 kilograms. For a cultivator who had just broken through to Foundation Establishment middle stage, Xiao Yanqing's punching strength was incomparable. Xiao Yanqing's strength was among the top 10 on planet Kangwu, and he was also a cultivator who specialized in strength. There were very few people whose punching strength was stronger than his. Therefore, when Li Daochong stood on the punching strength test platform, neither the examinees below the stage nor Tang Xian's group of 3 had high expectations. They just treated it as a routine and finished the test process so that they could record the complete data. In fact, Li Daochong was on North Star University's recruitment list. He wasn't a student they had to recruit. He was only in the second gear. The students in the first gear were all geniuses who had taken part in the joint examination of 100 schools and ranked in the top 10. For example, the 3 heroes of Kangwu, Bai Wuye, Wei Ziying, and Du Gulai. Or the 2 geniuses from the 3rd ring star zone, Gu Kuan and Zhong Jidao. There were also a few geniuses from the 3rd-class cultivation planets in the 4th ring star zone. Yi Renjian, the son of the Yi family from the 5th ring star zone. Lang? Mediocre? Mediocre? North Star University wanted these geniuses, who were below the age of 20 and had a cultivation level above the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. However, these geniuses generally wouldn't come to the admissions meet. Instead, the famous schools would meet with them in private. Li Daochong was in the second gear, and he was ranked at the bottom of the second gear. If Qin Zhan hadn't personally mentioned him in the investigation report, Li Daochong would have been ranked at the bottom of the second gear. Li Daochong wouldn't even be in the second gear. Although that was the case, Li Daochong was a second-tier, bottom-tier genius, and his status was enough for Tang Xian to personally make a move. In any case, given the strength that Li Daochong had displayed so far, it shouldn't be a problem for him to become a Jin Dan cultivator in the future. In short, almost no one cared about Li Daochong's punching strength. They had already expected the result. It definitely wouldn't be too high. This kid is so thin and weak. His punching strength shouldn't be that high. I think he should be around 5,000 kilograms. He should still be in the middle, an examinee said in boredom. With his thin arms and legs, 5,000 kilograms is too much. I think he won't exceed 3,800 kilograms at most, another examinee said while shaking his head. Most people's gazes were focused on Tang Xian. If it weren't for the two strong bodyguards behind the superstar, someone would have pounced on her. Din Jiang, Li Daochong shouldn't be a strength-type contestant. His punching strength shouldn't be too high, Ho Xiangjie analyzed excitedly. Team leader Ho is right. Li Daochong is more suited to use weapons, Jiang Jinluan agreed. Yu Yan was standing next to Li Daochong like a thief. She whispered, "Little Chong, be gentle when you punch. Don't scare him." Li Daochong didn't seem to hear anything. He slowly raised his hand and punched. It was neither fast nor fierce, as if he was practicing. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. The punching machine shook slightly. Li Daochong retracted his hand and walked off the stage. It can't be. This kid's punching strength is so weak that it can't be displayed? An examinee exclaimed. After a long while, there was no reaction from the machine. Even the examiners were puzzled. They went forward to check. Just as the examiners reached out to touch the machine, beep. A sharp sound rang out. 19,890 kilograms. Immediately after, a robotic female voice announced. Yu Yan lowered her voice and moved closer to Li Daochong. "Didn't I tell you to take it easy? Why did you use so much strength?" Li Daochong rubbed his nose. "I already held back a lot. I only used 30% of my strength." As soon as he said that, Yu Yan tripped and almost fell flat on her face. 30%? Hot liquid flowed out of Yu Yan's nose. She stared at Li Daochong. She knew that Li Daochong's strength was great, but she didn't expect it to be so great. She thought that 20,000 kilograms was at least 70% to 80% of Li Daochong's strength. She didn't expect it to only be 30%. F***ck, this kid has just built his foundation, but his strength is almost on par with me when I was in Jin Dan. What kind of monster is he? The surrounding examinees stared at the numbers on the machine with their mouths wide open. Their eyes were full of disbelief. Liar, liar. Close to 20,000 kilograms of punching strength. Demon, demon. Tang Xian covered her mouth as she looked at the number displayed on the punching machine in disbelief. Ho Xiangjie and Jiang Jinluan looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. This kid is actually a strength-type contestant. Din Jiang, I think Li Daochong's recruitment level needs to be adjusted, Ho Xiangjie said seriously. Yes, it needs to be adjusted. Maybe it can be upgraded to the middle of second gear, Jiang Jinluan agreed. Student Li, let's go to the temporary cafe over there and sit for a while, Tang Xian said to Li Daochong. All right, Li Daochong could only agree when he saw Yu Yan constantly giving him looks. Other than the various high school recruitment sites, there were also some temporary restaurants and cafes for the examinees to rest. Miss Tang, why are you looking for me? Can you tell me now? Li Daochong could roughly guess the reason, but he still asked anyway. Tang Xian took a sip of instant coffee, and her eyes curved into crescents. She tried her best to look like an amiable and beautiful senior as she said, It's like this, Student Lee. I'm the spokesperson for North Star University's recruitment this time. On behalf of North Star University, I'm extending an invitation to Student Lee. I hope that you can choose North Star University after the joint examination of 100 schools. Li Daochong replied calmly, but I already have a university in mind, but it's not North Star University. Tang Xian was already prepared. She continued, Student Lee, don't be in a hurry to make a decision. Why don't you listen to our conditions first? Li Daochong smiled and said, What conditions? Miss Tang, please tell me. Tang Xian nodded and said, 2 years of scholarship, 1 year of free lessons from famous teachers, 1 spirit cultivating pill, and a bottle of first-class spirit liquid recovery water. In addition, we can provide you with a single room. Li Daochong shook his head. These aren't very attractive to me. Then, he stood up. Tang Xian didn't expect that Li Daochong wouldn't have the slightest bit of interest after taking out so many good things. Student Lee, you can ask for anything you want. As long as it's something that North Star University can provide, I can help you fight for it. Tang Xian was anxious. I appreciate Miss Tang's kindness, but North Star University really isn't suitable for me. Li Daochong threw away Tang Xian, who was holding a cup of coffee, and turned to leave. Tang Xian was a little confused. Wasn't North Star University the university that everyone was fighting to get into? Was this kid's brain flooded with water? Expulsion was such a good condition, and he didn't want it? Tang Xian couldn't understand. Jiang Jinluan and Ho Shangjie were even more confused. Yu Yen judged from their expressions that the content of their conversation wasn't very harmonious. It was likely that the quarrel was quite big. Li Daochong left the coffee shop. After checking the map of the area, he went straight to Taiji Academy. Compared to the other 3 famous schools, Taiji Academy's enrollment area was not only small, but it also didn't have many people. There was only 1 enrollment table, and there was only 1 enrollment staff. It wasn't like the other schools, which had a lot of people for enrollment, testing, service, and assistance. There was only 1 female enrollment teacher, but she looked a little young. She was only a few years older than Li Daochong. Her bronze skin covered every inch of her body. She might have lost the softness of a woman, but she was very healthy. The girl's body was full of vitality. Although her exposed arms weren't as thick as a man's, her well-defined arms looked full of strength. Taiji Academy was one of the 4 great famous schools, but no one was interested in it. It wasn't that Taiji Academy wasn't famous, but that this famous school's specialization was too monotonous. There wasn't much room for choice. Spirit Sequencer wasn't something that everyone could learn. Hence, Taiji Academy had always been one of the more special ones among the 4 great famous schools. They didn't have many students, but they firmly occupied the share of the 4 great famous schools. No one could shake their position. In fact, it was impossible for any school to shake Taiji Academy's position. Every year, Taiji Academy would provide the Federation with 3 Supreme Spirit Talismans that were level 20 and above. Just this point alone was enough for Taiji Academy to be in a stable position. At this moment, the female enrollment teacher had nothing to do and was creating a spirit talisman. Li Daochong could tell at a glance that the girl was creating a level 7 rain talisman. It was a spirit talisman that could make drought or desert rain. A level 7 rain talisman could make rain within a range of 10 kilometers for 15 minutes. The girl was focused on creating the talisman and didn't notice Li Daochong approaching. Li Daochong didn't disturb the girl and instead helped her. Perhaps it was because Li Daochong's actions were smooth, but the girl didn't notice anything wrong. With Li Daochong's help, the girl's production speed was much faster. After 10 minutes, she finished and successfully engraved the talisman. "Who?" The girl heaved a sigh of relief and looked at the spirit talisman with satisfaction. If the spirit lines of the talisman can be thicker and an arc can be drawn at the bottom, it should be able to reach level 8. Li Daochong subconsciously made a judgment. Is that so? Are you talking about here? The girl pointed to the left side of the center of the talisman. Yes. The girl stared at the area for a while, and suddenly came to a realization. Bah! She slapped her forehead and said, "Oh right, there is indeed a problem here. What you said just now was too right. If it is modified a little, it can really be upgraded to the 8th level." The girl excitedly raised her head and looked at Li Daochong. Only now did the girl realize that there was an additional person beside her. "Ah, who are you?" the girl cried out involuntarily. Chapter 312. As Chu Shintong was too engrossed in her work, she was taken away from making talismans. When she saw Li Daochong, she was shocked. However, Chu Shintong quickly understood and looked apologetic. "Are you here to sign up?" Li Daochong smiled and nodded. "I guess so. Let's understand the situation first." Chu Shintong stayed for the entire morning, and less than 10 people came to inquire. Every time the Tai Chi Academy recruited students, it was the same scene. However, after the exam, those who should apply would still apply. Those who should not apply would definitely not apply to the Tai Chi Academy. Thus, Chu Shintong had always thought that there was no need for the Tai Chi Academy to participate in the recruitment. It was rare for someone to come over, so Chu Shintong naturally welcomed them warmly. She took out the introduction of the academy and handed it to Li Daochong. "Student, you can't be wrong to choose the Tai Chi Academy. Everyone thinks that the Tai Chi Academy has only one specialization, but that's not the case. We also have the cultivation department, refining department, and alchemy department. Of course, the spirit order department is the main one." Chu Shintong could not stop talking once she started. She talked non-stop to Li Daochong about the Tai Chi Academy. Li Daochong listened with great interest. This sunny girl was very honest, and told him a lot of information that Li Daochong could not find on the spirit intranet. Chu Shintong did not stop talking for a full 15 minutes. Her little mouth was like a cannon. "In short, you can't be wrong to choose the Tai Chi Academy." Li Daochong was interested, but he did not immediately express his thoughts. He only said, "It's quite an interesting academy. Student, you can see the problem with the level 7 talisman at a glance. You must be very accomplished in the spirit order department, right?" Chu Shintong asked curiously. "It's all right." Li Daochong smiled. "Can you do me a favor?" Chu Shintong asked with a sly look in her eyes. "What favor? Tell me. If I can help, I'll help. If I can't, I can only apologize." Li Daochong's words were strict. "I have a few half-finished talismans here. Can you help me complete them?" Chu Shintong took out the talismans. Seeing these semi-finished talismans, Li Daochong's eyes lit up. Generally, talismans could only be divided into 2 types: waste products and finished products. Semi-finished talismans were almost non-existent, because talismans were either created successfully or failed. However, only half of these talismans were made. Li Daochong took a few talismans and immediately started working. The spirit brain and the like were all ready-made. Li Daochong's fingers were filled with spiritual energy as he tapped on the spiritual keyboard. Chu Shintong was curious at first, but soon, her gaze was completely attracted by the spirit sequence created by Li Daochong. These spirit sequences were filled with creativity. Not only did they inherit the basic laws of spirit chi, but they also developed many new things. After more than an hour of hard work, Li Daochong finished making all 5 semi-finished talismans. None of the 5 talismans were the same. Ice talismans, fire talismans, protective talismans, and magic talismans were all included. They were all level 8 talismans. Chu Shintong was dumbfounded as she watched from the side. This guy was too amazing. He was actually able to complete 5 8th-rank semi-finished talismans so quickly without any mistake. Even in the Tai Chi Academy, he was considered a top student. Chu Shintong's eyes lit up. Student, join the Taiji Academy. You will definitely become a great spirit sequence master. I promise you that the Taiji Academy will do its best to nurture you. Li Daochong believed what Chu Xintong said. However, he had a small request in his heart, but he didn't know if the Taiji Academy could fulfill it. Li Daochong hesitated for a moment before asking, "May I ask if the Taiji Academy accepts students?" Chu Xintong was stunned for a moment before saying, "Wait a moment, let me ask." Chu Xintong immediately contacted the Taiji Academy's dean, Su Yuan. Chu Xintong only said a few words before Su Yuan flatly refused. "No, Taiji Academy doesn't accept any form of secondment. There has never been a precedent since the establishment of the school. If he wants to come, then come. If he doesn't want to come, then don't come. There are many people who want to be enrolled in Taiji Academy. Tell him that he should go to other schools to take a look. Our Taiji Academy can't accommodate a god like him. He really has a lot of demands. Who does he think he is, Taoist spirit talisman? If he has the guts, then let him get into the top 3 of the 100 Schools Alliance. I'm busy." Su Yuan's voice was very loud, and Li Daochong heard every single word. The good impression he had of the Taiji Academy disappeared at this moment. Li Daochong's face darkened and he turned to leave. Chu Xintong was anxious and grabbed Li Daochong. "Student, don't go. Do you have to borrow? The Taiji Academy is one of the 4 great famous schools. Why do you have to borrow?" Li Daochong smiled apologetically. "Since I can't borrow, then forget it. Thank you for introducing so much to me. I can only borrow. I won't force it if I can't." With that, Li Daochong turned to leave. Chu Xintong looked regretful. What was wrong with the dean today? It was as if he had eaten dynamite. He rejected her before she could finish her introduction. Li Daochong's request to borrow was not a must. He was just asking. It was fine if he couldn't do it. Li Daochong wanted to keep his identity as a student of Beiyang University. Now that the future of Beiyang University was uncertain, it might be revoked one day. The 2 elders, Yung Byungha and Qian Chonghai, had recognized Li Daochong. Li Daochong had always been grateful for this. He knew that Yung Byungha had given up everything for Beiyang University. Qian Chonghai had also put all his efforts into Beiyang University. Li Daochong really wanted to help them. The people of Beiyang were simple and pure. He didn't want Beiyang University to sink. Li Daochong knew that the reason why Beiyang University could be preserved was mainly because of Qin Zhan's words at the joint examination. Once he left, Qin Zhan would probably not take care of Beiyang University anymore. At most, Beiyang University would be revoked after a year or 2. Therefore, Li Daochong wondered if he could keep his student status at Beiyang University and enter a famous school as a special student. This way, Beiyang University would gain some fame. Li Daochong's initial idea was this, but it didn't mean that it had to be this way. After all, a famous school had its dignity. They might not be willing to let students stay. If they were unwilling, Li Daochong could only find other ways to help Beiyang University. For example, buying land or giving money to upgrade Beiyang University's hardware. However, Li Daochong didn't expect that a simple question like this would receive such a rude answer. When Su Yuan finished speaking, Li Daochong completely erased Taiji Academy from his mind. Li Daochong could make spirit talismans himself. He only wanted to broaden his horizons by looking for a famous school. Anyway, he was already a second-class spirit sequencer of the Association of Spirit Sequencers. It didn't matter if he went to Taiji Academy or not. Li Daochong quickened his pace and pretended not to hear Chu Xintong's urging to stay. "Xiaochong, how's Taiji Academy?" Yu Yan didn't want to follow Li Daochong to the Taiji Academy's recruitment office. She had been waiting on the other side. When she saw Li Daochong walking over, she immediately asked, "Not bad. Let's go." "I'm not looking anymore." Li Daochong was slightly depressed. "Not looking anymore? Why not? Even if you care about Tai Chi Academy, you have to look at the other cultivation schools. Other than North Star University and Tai Chi Academy, there are also Qingsu University and St. Hua University. The former's forte is alchemy, while the latter's forte is weapon refinement. They both have their own specialties. Even if you don't want to go, you should take a look. It's good to broaden your horizons, Yu Yen advised. Alright, let's go take a look. Li Daochong knew that he was being controlled by his emotions. He activated his psychic power and his eyes instantly became clear. Li Daochong secretly made up his mind. Was Tai Chi Academy very awesome? Sure, sooner or later, he would surpass their talisman crafting standards. The recruitment offices of Qingsu University and St. Hua University were just like North Star University. They were bustling with noise and excitement. Examinees gathered together, wishing they could occupy the recruitment teachers. Xiaochong, you really don't want to consider North Star University? Yu Yen didn't want to give up. Can I borrow North Star University? Li Daochong looked at the spirit liquid filter displayed by Qingsu University and asked casually. You want to borrow? Yu Yen said in surprise. I have this idea. I don't want to give up my status as a student of Beiyang University. Li Daochong spoke out his thoughts. This wasn't something shameful in itself. As far as I know, borrowing is usually only done by those high schools that don't have enough students. There are many people who want to enter the Big Four, so there shouldn't be such a method. Yu Yen analyzed. Li Daochong was silent. He knew that the requirement of borrowing seemed a bit excessive for a famous school, but he really wanted to help Beiyang University. More than 10 minutes ago, in a temporary lounge next to the recruitment area of North Star University, Tang Xian looked at Li Daochong, who was crafting talismans on the spirit video screen, in surprise. Ho Xiangjie and Jiang Jinluan's faces were also filled with astonishment. They didn't expect that Li Daochong, who had obtained first place in the entrance exam, had such high attainments in talisman crafting. This was far beyond their expectations. They could see everything about Li Daochong through the spirit video screen. It wasn't that they were deliberately spying on him, but they were directly watching through the security cameras in the recruitment area. Tang Xian hadn't been able to recruit a worthy student for half a day, which made her feel unreconciled. In addition, Li Daochong's attitude towards her was cold, which aroused this big star's competitive spirit. She didn't believe that she couldn't recruit this kid. Even if she had to sacrifice her body when necessary, she had to recruit Li Daochong into North Star University. Good kid, being able to craft an 8th-level talisman so casually is amazing. Ho Xiangjie looked at the screen and praised. 19 years old, early foundation establishment stage, achieved a spirit body, amazing fist strength, and can even craft talismans. How many treasures does Li Daochong have that haven't been discovered yet? Leader Ho, I think Li Daochong's recruitment level needs to be raised. No matter what, he should be at the top of the second tier. Jiang Jinluan's eyes lit up as he looked at Li Daochong through the spirit video screen. Yes, this kid is very interesting. He's a talent. I'll raise his level right away. Ho Xiangjie said as he opened his wristwatch and readjusted the name list. Teacher Ho, Dean Jiang, Tang Xian's achievements today are all thanks to North Star University's nurturing and support. Don't worry, I'll definitely recruit Li Daochong into North Star University. Tang Xian's beautiful face revealed a determined expression. She didn't believe that Li Daochong would really refuse her invitation. Ever since she had become a household name, Tang Xian had never been rejected again. Li Daochong's indifference aroused Tang Xian's fighting spirit. At the same time, North Star University wasn't the only one who had noticed Li Daochong. Several other famous schools, such as Qingsu University and Tsinghua University, were also interested in Li Daochong. However, the focus of the Big Four wasn't just on the 4th Ring Star Zone's joint examination of 100 schools, but also on the 3rd Ring, second ring, and first ring. There were even more geniuses there. After strolling around the admissions venue for more than an hour, Yu Yen finally left with Li Daochong. As soon as the two of them left the admissions venue, a luxurious flying shuttle slowly drove over and stopped in front of them. The door opened and Tang Xian sat inside in a purple dress. She smiled at Li Daochong. "Classmate Li, let me give you a ride." Yu Yen was just about to agree, but Li Daochong said, "No need, I have a private car." At that moment, Ding Fugui drove his flying shuttle over. Li Daochong pulled Yu Yen onto the flying shuttle. Before closing the door, Li Daochong waved at Tang Xian as a token gesture, then closed the door. Fatty stomped on the spirit door, and the flying shuttle soared into the sky with a whoosh. Tang Xian gently bit her lower lip, her heart trembling. This guy really ignored her. In fact, Li Daochong really didn't like celebrities. Perhaps the entertainment circle in his previous life had left a very bad impression on him. He felt that the rich circle was too messy, and he inexplicably felt repulsed. Li Daochong was wholeheartedly focused on cultivation. He didn't want to make friends with any celebrities at all. Brotherly, was that Tang Xian just now? Although it was just a glimpse, the little fatty's small eyes still saw Tang Xian. Yes, Li Daochong nodded and replied. "Oh my God, Brotherly, why did you get into my car just now?" "Tang Xian, that's Tang Xian. If you want to have a meal with her, don't even think about it unless you have a net worth of tens of billions. Those big bosses are scrambling to spend money just to have a meal with her. Brotherly, you actually rejected her invitation and left." This. Ding Fugui's face was full of grief as he spoke. "Shut up and drive properly." Yu Yen reached out and smacked the little fatty's head. Chapter 313. Li Daochong didn't need to participate in the preliminary exam of the joint examination of 100 schools. He had a direct card and could directly enter the final exam. The final exam would begin after the preliminary exam was over. The preliminary exam was divided into two parts, a written exam and a passing test. There were no martial arts or practical tests. More than 300,000 people would take the exam in different examination halls at the same time. The exam ended in the morning, and the results would be out in the afternoon. The written exam was supposed to test one's knowledge, but in reality, one couldn't just use their brains to solve the questions. Because it was a virtual exam paper, writing required the use of mental power and spirit qi, and couldn't be written casually. The passing test mainly tested one's cultivation, spirit meridians, spirit roots, and physique. If one was too weak in any of these, they would be eliminated. Everything was filtered by the spirit brain, and the results were quickly out. Of the more than 300,000 people, 350,000 were eliminated, and only 30,000 passed the preliminary exam. Including the more than 10,000 people who had directly entered the final exam, more than 40,000 people had passed the final exam. After many rounds of filtering, these 40,000 people were the most outstanding representatives of the younger generation in the Four Rings Star Zone. They came from every corner of the Four Rings Star Zone. Apart from paying attention to the preliminary exam, Li Daochong spent most of his time meditating and regulating his breathing, quietly waiting for the final exam. During this time, many admissions teachers from famous schools contacted Li Daochong to express their interest, hoping that Li Daochong could enter their schools to study. Tang Xian and Chu Xintong even personally visited him. As for how they knew where Li Daochong was staying, it was obvious that someone had leaked the news. The hotel Li Daochong was staying in had been selected by the military. It was very safe and confidential, and very few people knew about it. Only Yu Yen and Ding Fugui knew. Li Daochong's guess was right. It was these two guys who were selling his accommodation as a commodity. Ding Fugui's price was very simple. He only wanted Tang Xian to have a meal with him. If Li Daochong knew that Ding Fugui was selling him for a meal, he would definitely tear that damn fatty to pieces. More than a dozen admissions teachers from high schools came at the same time. Li Daochong was highly valued. After all, he had taken first place in the direct exam, so his temperament was definitely rare. He belonged to the category of combat talents and would most likely achieve military merits in the future. Li Daochong could understand other people coming to lobby, but the appearance of Chu Xintong made him feel a little strange. Chu Xintong apologized to Li Daochong again and again, hoping that he wouldn't take it to heart. She also hoped that Li Daochong wouldn't let loyalty get the better of him. For the sake of his own future, there was no need to get angry over a few words and joke about his own future. Li Daochong had a good impression of Chu Xintong. He knew that she had good intentions and was right. There was no need to be angry over a few words. However, Li Daochong did not dare to compliment the attitude of the Tai Chi Academy's dean. This kind of self-righteous fellow should be left to his own devices. Student Li, don't you want to reconsider? As long as you give up on your request, the doors of the Taiji Academy will always be open to you. We can even give you some preferential treatment. Chu Xintong was not willing to let go of a spirit sequence genius just like that. She was slightly agitated as she spoke. Teacher Chu, the ideals of the Taiji Academy are not suitable for me. I'm sorry, Li Daochong replied simply and firmly. Chu Xintong bit her lower lip. She did not want to give up. Just as she was about to continue persuading him, her wristwatch rang. Su Yuan's roar could be heard from it. Teacher Chu, I'm very busy. Recently, the higher-ups have issued a mission for our Taiji Research Institute to create 5 level 23 spirit talismans within a month. There are many students who can create level 8 spirit talismans, and there are at least 100,000 young elites in the entire Federation. If this guy doesn't want to come, then so be it. Our Taiji Academy doesn't need such a pretentious student. He's just a young man who's successful. I've seen too many of him, and he won't have any development in the future. Let him be. His name is Li Daochong, right? Do you understand? After saying that, Su Yuan cut off the call. Chu Xintong's face flushed red. She did not expect that Dean Su would suddenly say such words. Her original intention was to let Su Yuan know more about this student. That was why she opened the call on her wristwatch. She wanted Su Yuan to listen in. Who knew that Su Yuan would be so inconsiderate and completely seal off her path? Chu Xintong did not know that Su Yuan was Su Yuliang's cousin in Kangwu Planet's education department. When Li Daochong appeared at the student recruitment meeting, Su Yuliang had discovered him. Su Yuliang had failed to stop Li Daochong previously, but he did not give up. After Li Daochong obtained brilliant results, Su Yuliang became even more jealous. Seeing that Li Daochong had taken the initiative to come to the Taiji Academy's student recruitment area, Su Yuliang immediately contacted his cousin, Su Yuan, who was a research fellow in the Taiji Academy's Research Institute. This was also the reason why Su Yuan immediately acted as if he had eaten explosives after hearing Chu Xintong's report. Li Daochong naturally did not know the reason, but he did not like Su Yuan's personality. No matter what the reason was, Li Daochong felt that it was strange that the Taiji Academy had such a high-ranking person. Chu Xintong knew that after today, this young man would not come to the Taiji Academy no matter what. Chu Xintong's face was still red. She apologized, studently, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to Dean Su recently, but his mood is not very good. Please don't take it to heart. I don't know if it's directed at you. A few students were like this yesterday. It might be because of the pressure from work. Please don't take it to heart. Li Daochong nodded and smiled faintly. I won't take it to heart. I'm just sorry for making Teacher Chu come here for nothing. Li Daochong was speaking the truth. Although Li Daochong did not like Su Yuan's bad attitude, he did not take it to heart. At most, he would pass on the Taiji Academy. After sending Chu Xintong off, There were more than 10 college admissions teachers waiting outside the door. Tang Xian was naturally among them. In fact, Tang Xian was the first to come, but Li Daochong did not want to see her. In the morning, Li Daochong had sent away one admissions teacher after another. Chu Xintong was the 8th. Li Daochong invited the 9th teacher in, but he still did not call Tang Xian. Tang Xian's assistant was so angry that she stomped her feet. What is this? Does he really think he's a big shot? Didn't he just survive the test? What's so great about that? There are so many young people who are better than him. Big miss, who are you to wait for him? Tang Xian was holding a magazine in her hand. She did not seem to hear her assistant's words. She frowned slightly. Go out and wait for me in the car. Big Mississippi, the young assistant was stunned. Go quickly. Tang Xian's tone turned cold. Seeing that Tang Xian was a little angry, the assistant lowered her head and left. Tang Xian glanced at the tightly shut door, and a faint smile appeared on her beautiful face. She did not care about Li Daochong's indifference. Although Tang Xian was a celebrity, she was not the kind of person who was spoiled since childhood. The Tang family was also a big family on Kangwu Planet. Tang Xian was also at the peak of the foundation establishment stage, so she still had her composure and tenacity. Now, in Tang Xian's eyes, Li Daochong was just a prey. She had to take him down no matter what. More importantly, Tang Xian had been investigating Li Daochong's past these days. The results surprised and excited her, and she was even more determined to recruit Li Daochong into North Star University. In the evening, Li Daochong sent off the last university recruitment teacher. Only then did he reluctantly invite Tang Xian into his room. After a short conversation, Li Daochong ended the conversation with the excuse of resting and sent her out. Tang Xian was angry at that moment. After all, she had waited for such a long time. However, in the end, she endured it. Big Miss, Li Daochong is only a second-rate student in the alliance of 100 schools. Do you have to value him so much? The assistant could not stand it anymore. She chattered as she drove the flying shuttle. He is Li Tianyang's son. Li Tianyang is a benefactor of the Tang family, Tang Xian said simply. The assistant stopped complaining. She had followed Tang Xian for so many years and had been her personal maid since she was young. She was very clear about the affairs of the Tang family. More than a year ago, Li Tianyang's rebellion had caused a sensation. The Tang family had also been implicated. If not for Li Tianyang's protection, the Tang family would have been disbanded. The Big Miss would also have been implicated. In front of the Federation's cultivation method, any superstar was nothing. That incident had been completely buried by Li Tianyang's sacrifice. The final exam of the Alliance of 100 Schools finally began under the watchful eyes of everyone. All the candidates gathered at Ash Cloud University. A giant flying shuttle quietly floated in the air above the plaza. After half an hour of speeches, all the students boarded the giant transport flying shuttle. Planet Kangwu was very large. It was 100 times the size of planet Qiyang. However, its gravity was only 10 times stronger than planet Qiyang's. This was due to planet Kangwu's special structure. Because of this, planet Kangwu's surface was very large. Long-distance travel required flying shuttles. Flying also took a long time. Only when the flying shuttle entered the atmosphere and flew at high speed could they reach their destination at the fastest speed. An hour later, the giant flying shuttle landed outside a circular building on the other side of planet Kangwu. This was a spiritual source building. You can freely control the flow of time within the dream space. If the time outside is 1 day, then the time within the dream space will be 1 month. The central area of the dream space is a safe zone, while the other areas are killing zones. You can kill ghosts to earn points, and you can also kill others to steal points. There are no restrictions within the dream space. The final result will be determined by the number of points each person has after the dream space ends. After an invigilator announced this, Everyone turned and entered the flying shuttle. More than 40,000 candidates entered the circular building. The so-called spiritual source building was actually an enormous spiritual brain. It could accommodate many people entering a virtual space at the same time. Chapter 3:14. The joint examination of 100 schools tested one's overall ability and potential value. Having a high cultivation base didn't mean that you were awesome. For example, a cultivator in the middle stage of the Qi gathering had a tenacious heart and a firm will, while another cultivator in the peak stage of the Qi gathering was greedy for life and cowardly like a mouse. Any university would only choose the former and not the latter. There were two reasons why the final examination was held in the spiritual dream space. One was to protect the examinees. No matter how they fought in the virtual space, as long as the mental link was controlled, there wouldn't be any danger. Everything was under the control of the invigilator. The second reason was the strength of the dark ghost. In the spiritual dream space, all known dark ghosts could be created at will. Under the control of the spiritual brain, even witch ghosts could be created. This way, powerful dark ghosts could be created without worrying about hurting the examinees. They could also test their reactions in the face of danger. There was a large room on the giant transport shuttle. The invigilators of the joint examination of 100 schools and the admissions teachers of the various universities were gathered inside. In front of them was a huge spirit vision screen. There were more than 100 images on it, projecting the scene in the city of 10,000 ghosts. The images were mainly focused on the seated examinees to see their performance. In addition to this large room, there were several small rooms set up specifically for this purpose. Some people were also gathered in each small room. In front of them was a large screen, but it wasn't as big as the one in the large room. There were only 20 or so images, but they were much clearer. In one of the small rooms, Tang Xian sat on a sofa. Beside her stood a small assistant. Besides her, there were more than 10 people. They were all teachers and observers from the various famous universities. The most conspicuous person in the small room was a handsome young man in a white Taoist robe. He lay sprawled on the sofa in the center of the room. The young man's head was pillowed on the thigh of a beautiful teacher, and his hand was placed unscrupulously on the butt of another beautiful teacher. These two beautiful teachers were special lecturers of St. Hua University. Not only were they beautiful, but they were also quite powerful. They were both at the peak stage of the foundation establishment realm. The aura of the young man lying on the ground was stable, but it faintly revealed a lazy, domineering aura. He was like a lion that had eaten its fill and was taking a nap on the grassland. Even if he was not aggressive, he was still intimidating. Tang Xian saw this person as soon as she came in. She deliberately chose a seat furthest away from him, but she was still a little worried. Fortunately, Ho Xiangjie, the leader of the North Star University team, and Jiang Jinluan, the vice dean of the Cultivation Academy, also came in and sat next to Tang Xian. Only then did Tang Xian feel relieved. She was obviously very afraid of that young man. She did not dare to provoke him, but she also did not want to have any interaction with him. In fact, the entire room was filled with the teachers, team leaders, and academicians from the 4 famous schools who had come to recruit students. Only this young man was not. He was a student. His name was Duan Yuhao, a third-year student at St. Hua University and the winner of first place in the First Ring Star Zone's 100 schools joint examination 2 years ago. Duan Family's Cultivation Pictures was the largest film company in the Federation. It had made countless celebrities famous. Tang Xian had also signed a contract with Duan Family's Cultivation Pictures when she first debuted. After her contract had expired, Tang Xian had set up her own studio. Duan Yuhao was naturally dissolute. As long as a beautiful woman caught his eye, she would definitely not be able to escape his grasp. However, Duan Yuhao would never force a woman, nor would he use despicable means. The women he wanted would automatically deliver themselves to his doorstep. As the young master of the Duan family group, Duan Yuhao only needed to say a word to turn a commoner girl into the most popular A-list starlet. At this moment, Duan Yuhao was openly enjoying the massage service of the two beautiful teachers while taking advantage of her. He was even eating grapes in his mouth. So boring. I wonder if there are any interesting fellows in the 100 Schools Alliance exam this time. I want to make friends. Duan Yuhao sighed. Young Master Duan, it's easy for you to make friends. Just say the word, and the young girls outside will send themselves to your door in droves to be your girlfriend. The beautiful teacher who was peeling grapes for Duan Yuhao giggled. I'm not talking about girlfriends. I'm talking about boyfriends. Duan Yuhao corrected her. As soon as he said this, everyone in the small room cast strange gazes at him. The beautiful teacher was even more surprised. Young Master Duan, your interest has changed? The other beautiful teacher pouted and said, Young Master Duan, it can't be. If your interest has really changed, what are we going to do? Duan Yuhao was stunned. Slap, slap. He slapped the two beautiful teachers' plump buttocks. What are you guys thinking? I'm talking about normal male friends. Think about it, I don't have a decent playmate by my side. Young Master Duan, how come you don't have a playmate? Those sons of the cultivation group's CEO and the grandchildren of the counselors, which one of them isn't your good friend? The beautiful teacher whispered. Come on, those guys are just fair-weather friends. Isn't it because I'm the young master of the Duan family pictures? If it weren't for that, they wouldn't have bothered with me. They're looking for me to pick up those female celebrities. We're just using each other. We can't be friends. Duan Yuhao said with a look of understanding. Young Master Duan, don't you have childhood friends? It's good that you do. When I was young, I was tightly controlled by my father. I couldn't go anywhere. I was only liberated when I went to university. Duan Yuhao's face was full of despair. His eyes occasionally glanced at Tang Xian, who was sitting behind him. Duan Yuhao had been drooling over this hot beauty for a long time. Unfortunately, Tang Xian didn't even look at him. The Tang family wasn't weak, and Tang Xian herself wasn't bad either. She was only 25 years old, but she was already at the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Her attainments in spiritual sound were even more impressive. Otherwise, how could her songs be so popular in the Federation? The study of spiritual sound was now being valued more and more because on the front lines, spiritual sound was becoming more and more important. It could inspire people and arouse the fighting spirit of the soldiers. If used properly, it could even greatly increase the strength of the soldiers when fighting against the Nether Ghosts. Humans were very emotional creatures, and spiritual sound was precisely the catalyst for this. Duan Yuhao had tried all sorts of ways to curry favor with Tang Xian to win her heart, but all his attempts had ended in failure. In the end, Duan Yuhao came to a conclusion that made him heartbroken. He wasn't Tang Xian's type. This woman didn't like him. Young Master Duan, did you come here today to find a good friend? The beautiful teacher asked as she peeled a large grape and tossed it into Duan Yuhao's mouth. Of course not. I'm here to see a beauty. Ah. Duan Yuhao laughed loudly, making no attempt to hide his intentions. Many people in the small room looked at him with disgust. Although many people hated Duan Yuhao, they couldn't do anything about him. He was the focus of the Federation's training. In the future, he would be a reserve member of the Federation's secret service team. If nothing went wrong, he would become a divine general within 10 years. Not only was he talented, but he was also a member of the Federation's aristocratic family. Few families could compare to him. With these 2 points added together, Duan Yuhao could do whatever he wanted in the Federation. Tang Xian looked at Duan Yuhao in disgust. She used her spirit energy to seal her ears, then put on her headphones and looked at the spirit vision screen. Tang Xian immediately saw a thin young man standing on the street at the bottom of the screen, looking around. This young man was none other than Li Daochong, who had been searching for a target after entering the city of 10,000 ghosts. The city of 10,000 ghosts was a virtual city in the spiritual dream space, so it was extremely large. More than 40,000 examinees were scattered in every corner of the city. It wasn't easy to run into them. Li Daochong spread out his psychic energy and quickly found his target. In the virtual space, Li Daochong naturally couldn't absorb soul energy. The dark ghosts that appeared here were all fake. But even though he couldn't absorb them, Li Daochong could still use them to improve his combat experience and fighting technique. He could also familiarize himself with the various dark ghosts. If he encountered them in the real world in the future, it would be easier to deal with them. Li Daochong quickly locked onto several large ghosts hidden in the room and easily killed them. The points on his belt quickly increased by several hundred. Li Daochong's powerful psychic energy made finding dark ghosts very easy for him. He didn't stop for a single moment, killing and searching. Just like that, more than 200 virtual dark ghosts were killed by Li Daochong, accumulating more than 10,000 points. Not only could the spectators see the points, but so could the examinees themselves. After a single day, Li Daochong's points were ranked 45th. It couldn't be called stunning, but it was still pretty good. Just as the investigator had analyzed, Li Daochong was one of the examinees that second gear needed to recruit. He was still somewhat lacking compared to those geniuses. Li Daochong was very satisfied with his ranking. He knew that if he wanted to obtain a high number of points, he wouldn't have to rely on killing dark ghosts. Instead, he would have to find other examinees and steal their point. Defeating them would give him half the point. The rules were set in this way to encourage competition between examinees. Of course, there wouldn't be any fighting in the first few days, as there was no need. At this time, no one had many points, and even if one defeated the other, it would be a waste of time. One day in the outside world was 1 month in the soul dream space. Through the spirit vision screen, one would feel that the pace was particularly fast. In less than an hour, 1 day and 1 night had passed in the world. Just like that, a week passed, and nearly 6 hours had passed in the outside world. There wasn't much to see in this period of time. All the examinees were diligently searching for dark ghosts to kill. An extremely small number of people would find a secluded place to rest and wait until a certain time before going out to steal the points of other examinees. At the beginning of the second week, the city of 10,000 ghosts gradually became lively. Hunting dark ghosts was no longer the main theme, and battles between examinees became more frequent. Li Daochong continued to search for dark ghosts and kill them. It was just that low-level dark ghosts weren't able to arouse his desire to hunt. Li Daochong specifically searched for dark ghosts that he had never encountered before. The higher the level, the better. With Li Daochong's current strength, dealing with a Ghost King was no problem at all, but dealing with a Soul Devourer ghost was a different story. Because Li Daochong deliberately avoided the areas densely populated with examinees, he didn't encounter any robberies. For the time being, Li Daochong didn't want to steal from others. His ranking was still hovering between 40 and 50, neither too high nor too low. The city of 10,000 ghosts, which was more than 1,000 square kilometers in area, was divided into 4 regions in the second week. They were the East, South, West, and North districts. In truth, finding examinees to rob was a rather low-level strategy. Even if you killed them, they would quickly revive in the center of the city of 10,000 ghosts. Chapter 3:15. Candidates with strength and brains began to form groups, leading a group of people to occupy a certain area and hunt dark ghosts. This greatly increased their efficiency and safety. Whether they faced dark ghosts or other candidates, their chances of victory increased exponentially. However, leading a group of people was not easy. If they could form a group, it meant that the candidate's ability to lead was strong. The admissions teachers, who were constantly paying attention to the movements of the city of 10,000 ghosts, would pay attention to the commander-type candidates. Even if these people did not have strong cultivation, they would still be fought over by the various famous schools. Compared to individual strength, commander-type talents were even rarer. What the front lines lacked the most was commanders. The Eastern District was occupied by Wuya, who established the Martial Guild. In just a few days, the number of members had expanded to more than 1,000. It was currently the largest guild in the city of 10,000 ghosts. Wuya did not need to do anything. Every moment, there would be brothers in the guild sending him points. Wuya naturally would not take them for free. When he encountered powerful dark ghosts, he would act. When there was a conflict with other groups, he would also act. If someone was ambushed or killed, Wuya would help take revenge. Wuya's point soared, and he quickly reached first place. The Eastern District had the Martial Guild, while the Western District had the Heavenly Guild established by Pu Guangtian. Pu Guangtian's method was much more radical than Wuya's. In his area, those who followed him would prosper, and those who opposed him would perish. Pu Guangtian's cultivation was at the middle stage of foundation establishment. His padao was superb. That padao was a mid-grade heaven-tier weapon refined from star soul crystals. It was transparent and extremely dazzling. As one of the top 10 seeded candidates, Pu Guangtian did not spend much effort to recruit more than 800 candidates as his subordinates, completely occupying the Western District. The Eastern and Western districts reflected each other. The Northern District was also occupied by the Yi clan's son, Yi Renjian. He was Yi Renfei's cousin. The Yi clan had the Black Tortoise bloodline, so they were a level higher than others. Yi Renjian was also at the middle stage of foundation establishment, but his battle strength was a level higher than the average middle stage foundation establishment cultivator. Yi Renjian originally had no intention of forming a gang, but on the second day of entering the city of 10,000 ghosts, he met a weak-looking scholar. Yi Renjian felt very strange. This guy's cultivation was only at the middle stage of qi gathering. To be able to enter the 1,000 Ghost City to participate in the intermediate assessment, if he was not lucky, then he must have some connections. This weak scholar was holding a notebook spirit computer and constantly calculating something. Even though Yi Renjian's killing intent was obvious, he didn't care. Yi Renjian, I don't have many points on me. Even if you kill me, you won't get many benefit. I'm just running an extra errand. I'll respawn in the safe zone soon. However, if you're willing to work with me, I can guarantee that you'll get into the top 3 in this final assessment. The weak scholar was neither servile nor overbearing. Yi Renjian's interest was piqued. Tell me about it. The weak scholar immediately explained his plan one by one. Yi Renjian didn't think much of it at first, but as he listened, he felt that it made a lot of sense. Fighting alone was strenuous and unrewarding. Not only would it yield half the result with twice the effort, it was also possible that he would be ganged up on by others. The weak scholar's name was Tan Su. The sword gang in the North District was born under his operation. Yi Renjian was the boss, and Tan Su was his military counselor. After 2 weeks, Yi Renjian could get a lot of points just by sitting down. His ranking soared, and he soon reached the 3rd place. After tasting the sweetness, Yi Renjian listened to Tan Su. The two of them, one brave and one scheming, cooperated seamlessly, and made a name for themselves in the North District. The South District was more special. It was the only district among the 4 districts where 2 gangs coexisted. One was the Zhao gang, which was established by the Xiao family. There were many people from the Xiao family participating in this joint examination of 100 schools. Other than Xiao Yanqing, Xiao Yanzhao, and Xiao Feng, 2 other people also successfully entered the final assessment. With the 5 of them as the core, they quickly recruited more than 500 examinees to work for them. Most of the examinees were very clear about their own abilities. They didn't have extravagant hopes of getting a high ranking. They only wanted to get as many points as possible in a safe environment and get a good ranking in the end. Therefore, it wasn't difficult to gather people as long as you were strong enough. Other than the Zhao Gang, there was also a miscellaneous army in the South District. It was a group formed by a group of scattered examinees who had been bullied in the past few days. It was called the Righteous Gang. Although this E-Gang didn't have anyone like an arrow, there were more than 10 examinees in the early stage of the foundation establishment stage. One early stage foundation establishment examinee might not be much, but when more than 10 of them worked together, their strength couldn't be underestimated. Interestingly, Orson and the others were in the E-Gang. In terms of individual combat strength, the Zhao Gang's examinees were above the E-Gang, but the E-Gang had more members. There were more than 1,200 of them, and they were second only to the martial arts gang in the East District. 2 weeks passed. The situation in the city of 10,000 ghosts had become increasingly clear. The examinees who gathered together would mercilessly kill examinees who didn't belong to their own gang and steal their point. It was very difficult for a single examinee to survive. At this time, it was no longer accepted if they wanted to join. These groups were already strong enough. There was no need to add more people to divide the point. The remaining examinees were also relatively weak. It was impossible to form an effective group. However, not every seated examinee would form a group to hunt dark ghosts. When one's strength reached a certain level, it was more efficient to act alone. Among the 3 heroes of Blue Parasol, other than Bai Wuye, Wei Ziying and Dugalai had no intention of forming a faction. Not only did they act alone, they would mercilessly kill anyone who entered their hunting zone, regardless of who they were. The other 2 fellows left the city and hunted powerful dark ghosts outside the city. These 2 were examinees from the 3rd Ring Starfield, Gu Kuan and Zhong Jidao. As for Li Daochong, he had left the city a week ago to hunt powerful malicious ghosts in the 1,000 Ghost Mountain outside the city of 10,000 ghosts. There was no end to the dark ghosts inside and outside the city of 10,000 ghosts. After a certain area was cleared, they would respawn. The entire final exam was a bit like a game, except it was more realistic. 2 weeks of peace didn't mean that it would remain so. In the middle of the exam, the dark ghosts that respawned were adjusted and became stronger. That wasn't all. The system began to give everyone a notification about where a boss-level dark ghost would appear. Those that could be called boss-level were at least tongue-pulling malicious ghosts. The more powerful ones were red shadow malicious ghosts. Every day, 5 Ghost King would appear in a certain area of the city. Killing a malicious ghost of this level would give 30,000 to 100,000 points. This made the 5 guilds the target of competition. The points from killing a boss-level dark ghost were too tempting. The other dark ghosts would only give a few points, and the most would not exceed 1,000 points. How could the examinees not be tempted by tens of thousands of points? Killing a single dark ghost was much better than working for an entire day and only earning a few thousand points. Conflict was unavoidable. At the beginning of the 3rd week, not only would boss-level dark ghosts spawn, but supply chests would also spawn at any location in the city of 10,000 ghosts for examinees. Whoever found them would get them, and they could use them as they saw fit. This was also a test. Those examinees who weren't that strong but had their own specialties would shine this week. Whether you were crafting talismans, refining tools, or refining pills, the supply chests would have the materials you needed. As long as you knew how to use them, you could create equipment to help you kill dark ghosts. Li Daochong discovered that boss-level dark ghosts wouldn't spawn on the 1,000 Ghost Mountain, so he returned to the city. At the beginning of the 3rd week, large-scale battles broke out. Li Daocheng's ranking had already fallen below the top 500. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't kill as many dark ghosts as a group of hundreds or even thousands of people. Wei Ziying and the others also didn't rank very high. But after boss-level dark ghosts appeared, the flexibility of solo experts was immediately displayed. They could kill boss-level dark ghosts as soon as they found them, but in a group, even if they found 1 or 2 people, they wouldn't be able to kill them. Even if 10-some people worked together, they wouldn't be able to defeat them and would have to call for reinforcement. This would waste a lot of time. Just 2 days later, the rankings had undergone a great change. Wei Ziying, Du Gu Lai, Gu Kun, and Zhong Jidao's points soared, and they began to kill all the examinees they encountered. As for Li Daocheng, he actually fell below the top 2,000. It wasn't that he didn't work hard, but that on his first day in the city, he had found a supply chest in a house filled with all sorts of materials. These materials were completely useless, but if one understood artifact forging, alchemy, or talisman crafting, they could use them to create killing tools that could instantly kill boss-level dark ghosts. The supply chest had all sorts of talisman crafting materials, including many rare materials that Li Daocheng couldn't buy outside. In the virtual space, anything you want can be made for you. How could Li Daocheng miss out on these materials? He immediately took out what he needed and began crafting talismans. Li Daocheng knew that his every action could be seen by the outside world, so he didn't craft any level 10 talismans. Instead, he mass-produced level 7 and level 8 talismans. In 2 days, Li Daocheng crafted 20 level 7 fire talismans and 15 level 8 ice talismans. What's this kid doing? What's the point of wasting 2 days crafting level 7 and level 8 talismans? Boss-level dark ghosts can't be killed with level 7 and level 8 talismans. It's useless no matter how many he makes, an observer in the hall said in confusion. Regardless of whether it's useful or not, this kid can craft so many level 7 and level 8 talismans in such a short time with such a high success rate. He's also a genius, another observer said. That's right, but he only knows how to craft talismans. Even if he's powerful, he's not on our watch list. Go to Taiji Academy. Chu Xintong sat behind the two of them and sighed in her heart. Li Daocheng would probably never come to Taiji Academy. In a small room, Tang Xian frowned as she looked at Li Daocheng's ranking. She couldn't understand. This kid hadn't done anything these 2 days. He had just stayed in a house crafting talismans and realized that the supply chest was quite useful. But can't you just craft a few? Why waste so much precious time crafting so many? What's the use? Tang Xian's assistant, Xiao Wei, said in annoyance, "Miss, this kid can't be doing this on purpose to show off to Taiji Academy, right? I heard that he wanted to enter Taiji Academy but was rejected by them." Ever since Li Daocheng's attitude toward Tang Xian was relatively cold, Xiao Wei had been very unhappy. What is Daocheng trying to do? Qian Changhai in the hall also couldn't understand. This kid must have his own plans. Yung Byungha guessed, but his tone wasn't very confident. He also didn't understand why he would waste so much time crafting talismans. In the Thousand Ghost City, Li Daocheng finally left the room he had stayed in for 2 days with 35 talismans in his arms. On the screen, after Li Daocheng left the room, he looked around as if he was looking for something. After a while, Li Daocheng seemed to have found what he was looking for. He immediately took out the Tsang ink and stepped into the air. When Li Daocheng appeared above the 2 groups of examinees fighting, Ho Shangjie said in confusion, "What is this kid trying to do? Is he going to bombard the 2 groups with talismans?" The corner of Jiang Jinluan's mouth twitched. It can't be. Wouldn't that cause public anger? Even Dugulai and Wei Ziying can't take so many people beating them up. Chapter 316. Li Daocheng's strange behavior attracted the attention of many observers. Duan Yuhao looked at the screen with interest as he ate grape. This kid is interesting. This young master likes people who do things differently from others. The beautiful teacher next to him said disdainfully, "Young Master Duan, your taste is too bad. What's so interesting about this brainless guy? Not only did he waste so much time making useless talismans, but now he wants to kill so many people. Isn't he afraid of being ganged up on?" Another beautiful teacher said, "That's right. Even if he can kill so many people in front of him and get points, what will happen after that? Won't the two groups surround and annihilate him?" Duan Yuhao smiled. "That's also very interesting, haha." At that moment, Li Daochong slowly descended from the sky. He did not attack the two groups of candidates as everyone had guessed. Li Daochong stood on the side of the street, watching the two sides fight as if he was watching a play. Then, he took out a table from his storage bag. What's this kid doing with a table?" Seeing this scene, an observer scratched his head in confusion. As he spoke, Li Daochong on the screen took out a pot of tea and poured himself a cup of tea. Thud! Several observers in the hall fell to the ground, their faces full of shock. Talent, what AF * King Talent. At this critical moment, instead of hunting dark ghosts, he set up a table to drink tea and watch a fight? An observer sitting on the ground said in admiration. "Is there something wrong with this kid's brain?" An enrollment teacher said in shock. No one could guess what Li Daochong was up to. Even Qian Chonghai and Yung Byunghao were confused. Tang Xian was even more confused. What was this guy selling in his gourd? Haha, interesting guy. Duan Yuhao left the snow-white thigh he was resting on and sat up with great interest. Li Daochong took a sip of tea and then unhurriedly took out a few talismans and placed them on the table. Li Daochong took a deep breath and shouted loudly, passing by, don't miss out on this opportunity. Selling fire and ice talismans. Traveling, fighting, hunting dark ghosts, these are a must-have. If you can't win in a fight, spirit talismans can help. If you can't kill ghosts, spirit talismans can help. Puff! In the small room, Tang Xian had just taken a sip of the tea that Xiao Wei had brought. When she heard Li Daochong's shout, she spat it out. There was a commotion in the hall next door. All the recruitment teachers were in an uproar. *CK, there's such a thing. You can sell it like this. This brat is a little despicable. Qian Chonghai blushed and whispered to Yung Byungha, "Don't tell anyone that he's my student. I don't know him." Yung Byungha nodded blankly. In his impression, Li Daochong was not someone who would do such a thing. "Miss, why does this guy feel like a scoundrel?" Xiao Wei said disdainfully. Tang Xian did not say anything. She could not understand what Li Daochong was thinking. Wasn't this guy supposed to be the cold-hearted type? Tang Xian thought that Li Daochong would act as a lone wolf and slaughter everyone, just like Dugulai and the others, using absolute strength to crush everyone. However, she guessed wrong. Li Daochong was like a street vendor trying to make a living. He opened up his stall and sold spirit talismans to the 200 or so examinees who were fighting each other. Li Daochong's hawking clearly did not have much of an effect. The two groups of people were fighting, so how could they have the time to care about anything else? If they were not careful, they might be cut down by someone else's sword. However, as time passed, many people began to show signs of fatigue. Fierce battles of equal strength were extremely exhausting. A few examinees were killed unjustly. It was not because they were not strong enough, but because they were too tired. They were killed by a sneak attack and unfortunately lost half of their points. Huff, huff. An examinee lay on the ground, tired. He was not far from Li Daochong's stall. Li Daochong walked forward and squatted down with a smile. He handed a spirit talisman to the examinee and said, "Do you want to buy one? I guarantee that you'll regain your strength and kill everyone." The examinee glanced at the spirit talisman in Li Daochong's hand. He wanted to curse and not buy it, but at that moment, 2 examinees from the opposing group noticed him and rushed towards him. The examinee did not have the strength to continue fighting. He gritted his teeth and asked, "How much?" "It's free." "It's free." The examinee was stunned for a moment, then said, "Okay, give it to me." He reached out to take it. "Hey, wait." Li Daochong dodged and said, 3,000 points for one. "What?" The examinee stared. Almost at the same time, the 2 people who had discovered him rushed in front of him. One of them was holding a sword, the other was holding a giant axe. They fought to be the first to slash at him. They both wanted to kill him. Whoever killed him would get half of his points. Li Daochong turned a blind eye to this, but he secretly released 2 psychic attacks. The 2 guys who were rushing over inexplicably felt a buzz in their heads, and their movements suddenly slowed down. There was even a moment when they were motionless. 3,000 points is a good price. Think about it. If you were killed, you would lose half of your points. After 2 weeks, you would have more than 100,000 points. Do you think it's worth it to lose 50,000 points, or to use 3,000 points to save your life and counterattack? My spirit talisman is a level 8 spirit talisman. Li Daochong quickly said. The examinee gritted his teeth and said, "I'll buy it." Li Daochong grinned and threw the spirit talisman in his hand to the examinee. The 2 people who rushed over did not know what was going on with the dizziness just now. They looked at each other and rushed up again. Whoosh! The examinee did not hesitate and immediately released the ice talisman. In an instant, the surrounding cold air overflowed and the temperature suddenly dropped. With a bang, the 2 people were frozen into ice sculptures. Because they were still running forward, they instantly fell to the ground after being frozen. Pa, pa, with 2 crisp sounds, the ice sculptures fell to the ground and shattered. The points of the examinee who released the ice talisman suddenly increased by more than 100,000. Half of the points of the 2 people were transferred to him. A level 8 ice talisman was enough to kill a cultivator in the middle or late stage of the Qi-gathering realm. Moreover, these guys were now exhausted and could not resist the cold air of a level 8 ice talisman. The examinee was pleasantly surprised. He turned to look at Li Daochong and excitedly said, "Give me a few more." Li Daochong smiled and said, "I haven't given you the points of the previous talisman. Give it to me first." Having just obtained more than 100,000 points, the examinee did not care about the 3,000 points. Without saying anything, he immediately transferred the 3,000 points to Li Daochong. "Give me 10 more talismans." The examinee tasted the sweetness of obtaining so many points. Now that he was very rich, 10 talismans were only worth 30,000 points. "Are you sure?" Li Daochong asked. "I'm sure." "Hurry up, I'll give you the 30,000 points now." The examinee was impatient. He even reached out his hand to grab the talismans. Li Daochong stepped aside and pretended to take out the talisman. The examinee was scared and squatted down while holding his head. Don't worry. You're scaring me. If I accidentally release the talisman, that wouldn't be good." Li Daochong said slowly. Yes. The examinee replied with a sigh of relief. "My talismans are sold 1 less. The rarer something is, the more expensive it will be. Just now it was 3,000 per talisman, now it's 6,000 per talisman." Li Daochong said with a smile. "What? Aren't you cheating people?" The examinee stared at him. "If you think it's expensive, you don't have to buy it. I won't force you." Li Daochong shrugged indifferently. After he finished speaking, Li Daochong started to sell again. Level 8 Ice Talisman, a level 8 Ice Talisman that can kill 2 experts instantly. For only 6,000 points, you can get a killer talisman. I'm not cheating anyone. I'm selling it at a discount. If you need it, hurry up. There's a limited supply. First come, first serve. Give me 2 talismans. A tall examinee ran over and said in a rough voice. His breathing was very unstable. He had also reached the limit of his physical strength. Many examinees who were fighting saw the scene just now. They were immediately tempted. With the talisman, it would be much more convenient to kill the other party. It would also not exhaust their physical strength. Once the advertising effect was created, it was like a torrential river that couldn't be stopped. The tall examinee bought 2 talismans for 12,000 points. As soon as he got it, he released it and killed 2 other examinees. The cold air spread out and injured 3 other examinees. The 5 of them were instantly sent back to the safe zone. The tall examinee's points soared. In an instant, he jumped from 1,500 to around 200. The examinee who said that Li Daochong was cheating gritted his teeth and said, 6,000 it is. Give me 5 talismans. Li Daochong patted the examinee's shoulder and said, Friend, I just said that there will be 1 less talisman if I sell 1. If I sell 2, there will be 2 less talismans. The quantity is limited. The rarer something is, the more valuable it is. Now, there are even fewer of them. The price has increased again. 10,000. You? The examinee only felt that his chest was stuffy. The qi and blood in his body were unstable. He almost vomited blood. The number of talismans is limited. There are not many left. 10,000 for 1. Li Daochong continued to shout. I want it. Leave 1 for me. I'll pay 15,000. More and more examinees ran over to buy talismans. Those who came late couldn't squeeze in, so they shouted outside to increase the price. Friend, I'll sell it to you if you say 15,000. Li Daochong's face bloomed with a sunny smile. However, in the eyes of others, no matter how they looked at it, they felt that it was treacherous. 2 talismans were sold, and 30,000 was in his hands. In just a short while, Li Daochong sold 5 level 8 ice talismans and easily obtained 45,000 points. His ranking rose from 2,300 to 2,100. Although the increase in points did not achieve an explosive increase, Li Daochong's method of obtaining these points did not make any enemies. This group of examinees even asked him for help. The examinees who bought the ice talismans could immediately kill a few of the opposing examinees and obtain a large number of points. After a while, the advertising effect began to explode. Dozens of examinees from both sides ran over to Li Daochong to buy ice talismans. Li Daochong naturally wouldn't miss the opportunity to raise the price. The price rose, and the next 10 ice talismans were all sold at a high price of 20 to 30,000 points. More than 200,000 points were easily obtained. After all 15 ice talismans were used, more than half of the people on both sides were injured. The remaining people were injured to varying degrees by the cold air and had no choice but to retreat. Chapter 317. With this wave of spirit talismans sold, Li Daochong's ranking went from around 2,000 to around 500, and his total score reached 480,000. It had more than doubled in an instant. The 2 days that the observers thought had been wasted were actually made up for in a short hour. Li Daochong had thought of selling spirit talismans the moment he found the supply box. Ever since he had come to this world, selling spirit talismans had always been his trump card to get rich. The reason Li Daochong had adopted this method was that the hunting process for the first 2 weeks had been very boring. Because this was a virtual world, no matter how many dark ghosts he killed, Li Daochong wouldn't gain anything other than a bit of combat skill. No matter how many dark ghosts he killed, Li Daochong wouldn't be able to convert them into soul power. He would just be repeating the same process over and over again. Everything that happened in the spirit simulation space would be recorded by the spirit brain. Li Daochong didn't want his moves to be recorded forever. The 5th level of the 9-split saber technique had been recovered by the hot-blooded upgrader, which was unique to Li Daochong. If the spirit brain analyzed it thoroughly, wouldn't it become a technique that everyone knew? Li Daochong didn't want the saber technique that he had painstakingly comprehended to be made public just like that. The first 4 levels didn't matter, but the last 5 levels couldn't be taken advantage of by others. Thus, Li Daochong only used the first 4 levels here and didn't use the last 5. The final test of the joint examination of 100 schools wasn't just about the examinees' cultivation and combat strength. This was just one aspect. The various famous schools also needed to find talents in other areas, such as generals, refining weapons, refining medicine, making spirit talismans, and even strategizing. When fighting dark ghosts on the front lines, it was impossible to win by relying on combat strength alone. When dark ghosts reached the level of Soul Catcher Ghost, their intelligence would become higher and higher. There had been cases where Soul Catcher Ghosts had schemed to kill 3 Yuanian great cultivators, and there had also been cases where tens of thousands of cultivators had been killed. Therefore, the Federation needed all kinds of talents to bring out everyone's strengths in order to effectively resist the invasion of the Hades. If they were only looking at combat strength, the joint examination of 100 schools could have directly held a single elimination tournament. The examinees would fight in the ring, and whoever had the biggest fist would take first place. Why did they have to make it so complicated? Since they came up with such a joint examination plan, they naturally had their own considerations. After realizing this, Li Daochong wasn't too willing to hunt dark ghosts anymore. The joint examination of 100 schools seemed to be more inclined to dig out examinees who liked to use their brains. As for the aspect of strength, only those few freaks would be selected. They would be divided among the 4 great schools, and the remaining ones would be selected by the other schools. Li Daochong originally wanted to enter the Tai Chi Academy, but the upper echelons of this high school did not seem to like him. Since that was the case, he did not want to go again. As for the remaining 3 famous schools, Li Daochong was not very interested in North Star, Qingshu, and Shenghua. However, he had another goal outside of the 4 famous schools. There were 2 very special schools. One was Spirit Talisman University in the 5th Ring Star Zone, and the other was the Grand Pass Combat Institute in the 7th Ring Star Zone. These 2 schools were special because of their location. Of the 101 famous schools in the Federation, only these 2 were located outside the 4th Ring Star Zone. Spirit Talisman University was founded by Taoist Spirit Talisman and was later donated to the Federation. At first, it was used for the front lines. Tai Chi Academy focused on the research and production of super spirit talismans, while Spirit Talisman University mass-produced high-end spirit talismans to support the front lines. Taoist Spirit Talisman's original intention was not to educate people, but to develop the spirit talisman industry in the 5th Ring Star Zone. He built the military industry closest to the front lines so that weapons could be sent to the hot-blooded cultivators fighting on the front lines in the shortest time possible. The Grand Pass Combat Institute was even more legendary. It was originally the Grand Pass, the front lines of the Federation 700 years ago. At that time, the 8th and 9th Ring Star Zones had already been invaded by the Hades. The Grand Sea Planet was the most important pass in the 7th Ring Star Zone. Once it was breached, the 7th and 6th Ring Star Zones would be completely exposed to the Hades. The Grand Pass Combat Institute was built at that time. Many hot-blooded youths in the Federation went there and used their bodies to build the strongest defense line. They threw their heads down and spilled their blood. Even if they died, they still stood and blocked the ghost beasts of the Hades that tried to break through the Grand Pass. For a full 50 years, they wrote down one immortal legend after another. During the Federation's most difficult time, they forcefully blocked the dark ghosts outside the 7th Ring Star Zone. The Grand Pass Combat Institute was the only non-military school built on the front lines. It had flourished for 700 years. Li Daochong originally wanted to focus on studying spirit talismans. If that was not possible, he might as well go to the Grand Pass Combat Institute and hunt dark ghosts. The recruitment teachers of these 2 cultivation schools had also come to find Li Daochong. Both sides were willing. As long as Li Daochong could get into the top 50, he could choose any one of them and they would agree to let him study there. Thus, Li Daochong's requirements weren't very high. The top 50 was enough. Li Daochong didn't stop after making a fortune. He continued to look for groups to fight in the city of 10,000 ghosts. The more people there were, the better. In the past 2 days, it was easy to find groups that were fighting over boss Dark Ghost. 2 ghost kings spawned in the north of the city. The 5 temporarily formed guilds sent people over. One of the groups had 200 people and was fighting fiercely. Li Daochong didn't provoke anyone. He set up a stall outside the fighting area to sell spirit talismans. The 15 grade 8 ice talismans had already been sold, but he still had 20 grade 7 fire talismans, which were just as powerful. Li Daochong's grade 8 ice talismans were just normal grade 8 ice talismans. Grade 7 fire talismans were different. Li Daochong made them according to his own method. They were all strengthened versions that were even more powerful than ice talismans. Li Daochong waited for a while. When people started to get tired, he started to sell. Just like before, the 20 fire talismans were sold out at a high price. Li Daochong's points soared. Li Daochong's price for the 20 grade 7 fire talismans was even more ruthless. He started at 10,000 and sold the last 10 talismans for 35,000. In the end, Li Daochong obtained 500,000 points. Adding to his previous points, he now had 950,000. His ranking went from around 500 to 100. Li Daochong's method was quickly copied by others. There were more than one supply box. Starting from the 3rd week, dozens of supply boxes would randomly spawn in the city of 10,000 ghosts every day. Li Daochong wasn't the only one who could make spirit talismans. Apart from spirit talismans, there were also refining tools and medicine. These were all very good equipment supplements. Apart from the artifacts and weapons that the examinees often used, nothing else would exist. The next day, more than a dozen candidates started to sell the spirit talismans, magic treasures, and medicine they had made in different places. As for Li Daochong, after that day, he hid in the city and disappeared. Li Daochong searched for supply boxes while continuing to kill dark ghosts. As long as he found a boss dark ghost, he would eliminate it as quickly as possible. In the next 3 days, Li Daochong collected a total of 3 supply boxes. He found a hidden basement and started to make spirit talismans without sleep or food. This time, Li Daochong was even faster. In just 3 days, he made 45 grade 8 spirit talismans. Among them, 15 were fire talismans, 15 were ice talismans, and 15 were spirit light talismans. While Li Daochong was hiding, Xiao Yanzhao ordered the candidates of the Zhao gang to search for traces of Li Daochong on a large scale. 6 days ago, when Li Daochong appeared, Xiao Yanzhao started to search for him. But after that day, Li Daochong seemed to have disappeared without a trace. It was the 4th week of the final exam and about to enter the final sprint. Xiao Yanzhao, who wanted to deal with Li Daochong, started to get anxious. Once it was over, it would be very difficult for him to take revenge on Li Daochong. The best time to strike was in the city of 10,000 ghosts. A bunch of good-for-nothings. Still can't find him? There are so many of you. You're doing a carpet search with the help of spirit chi detectors. Can't you find such a big person? Xiao Yanzhao cursed in exasperation. Why are you still standing there? Keep looking. Xiao Yanqing waved his hand. The candidates in charge of the search left. After everyone left, Xiao Yanqing pressed his wristwatch to mute the sound. This way, no one outside could hear their conversation. Yanzhao, that kid should be hiding somewhere. His points haven't increased in the past 3 days. He fell from the top 100 to the top 500, Xiao Yanqing analyzed. I don't care what he's doing. It doesn't matter if he's moving or not. I just want to find that kid and send the soul-snatching ghost into his body, Xiao Yanzhao said coldly. Xiao Yanqing's face showed some difficulty. The city of 10,000 ghosts was so big. It was not easy to find someone. Why don't we wait for 2 more days? In the last few days, everyone's position will be revealed. At that time, no one will be able to hide. No one will be able to hide. At that time, I will definitely help you vent your anger, Xiao Yanqing comforted. That's the only way. That kid is very cunning. If you meet him, don't be careless. Just release the soul-snatching ghost, Xiao Yanzhao warned. Don't worry. I won't give him any chance to escape. Xiao Yanqing was confident. That's the best. Right? Is it safe to bring a soul-snatching ghost into the spiritual dream space? Will we be discovered? Xiao Yanzhao asked worriedly. It's absolutely safe. That soul-snatching ghost is only left with a spirit body. It's just a mass of violent energy. When it enters the spiritual dream space, the spiritual brain will only think of it as a spirit sequence, Xiao Yanqing replied. Half a day later, Xiao Yanzhao received news that Li Daochong had been found. He was within the sphere of influence of the Zhao gang in the southern district. Li Daochong left the basement after using all the materials to create the 45 talismans. As soon as Li Daochong left the basement, his belt immediately issued a warning. A ghost king had just been respawned and was not far away. It was less than 100 meters away from Li Daochong. How could Li Daochong miss this opportunity? Killing a ghost king gave him 100,000 points. Li Daochong's spiritual energy burst out and he rushed to the respawn location. Because the distance was very close, Li Daochong arrived without anyone else. This ghost king was almost exactly the same as the one Li Daochong had encountered in the grotto on planet Crimson Sunday. However, its death aura was not as strong. It was obviously much weaker. If it was as strong as the ghost king, Li Daochong would not be able to kill it alone. Li Daochong licked his lips. Just as he was about to make a move, several figures flashed over. They were 3 young people wearing Earth-rank magic robes. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.